Chapter 451. The attack on his chest made Mu En, who was at the side, feel as if his heart was in his throat. However, Mu Huai had been famous for many years. Although he had just advanced to the high-level king stage with the help of elixirs, his realm had long been stabilized. In addition, he cultivated the top green rank mysterious skill Spirit Concealment Technique. When the giant sword was about to sweep his chest, Mu Huai disappeared again. Luo Batian was not surprised. Although he looked down on the people of the Purple Heaven sect, it did not mean that he would despise anyone who fought against him. He sensed danger behind him, but before he could react, the tip of the sword had broken through his dark protection force and pierced his back. However, when Mu Huai thought that he had succeeded, he found that the sword in his hand did not pierce into Luo Batian's body. Instead, it made a ding sound and could not be inserted anymore. Obviously, Luo Batian was wearing a high-level armor. Otherwise, with his fourth-rank mysterious weapon, how could it not pierce into Luo Batian's body? Mu Huai was about to retreat after failing to succeed. How could Luo Batian allow him to leave so easily? He held the sword backhandedly and made dozens of slashes. Each slash carried powerful spiritual power, and bursts of earthy yellow halo exuded a bright color. Ding! Ding! Mu Huai blocked with all his strength, but the strength of each slash of Luo Batian was very frightening. Each slash was like a huge stone weighing thousands of kilograms, which cracked his palm and splashed blood. In the end, the green patterned sword in his hand could not withstand the power of the giant sword and was broken. Seeing that Mu Huai was injured and his mysterious weapon was damaged, Mu En exclaimed, "Junior brother, let me help you." After saying that, a black stick appeared in his hand and smashed toward Luo Batian, hoping to force Luo Batian away. Unfortunately, the old man of the heavy sword sect suddenly appeared and grabbed the black stick with one hand. He said with a sinister smile on his face, "You have no share here." With that, he threw Mu En and the Xian rod far away. A high-level king stage expert could not withstand a single blow. This old man was an expert of the Earth Sovereign stage. On the other side, Mu Huai had another sword in his hand, but he was facing Luo Batian's overbearing attack, which put him in danger. Seeing that Mu Huai was about to be killed by the giant sword, Xiao Songlin and the others finally arrived. "That's enough, young man. If you dare to kill my disciple, don't even think about leaving the Purple Heaven sect." Xiao Songlin shouted and waved his hand to take Mu Huai away. Luo Batian did not continue, and the old man also returned to Luo Batian's side. The old man retreated to Luo Batian. These 6 people had followed Luo Batian to the Purple Sky sect to propose marriage, but in reality, they were the elders of the Heavy Sword sect to protect Luo Batian. 5 of them were at the mid to high king rank and 1 of them was at the Earth Sovereign rank like the old man. From this, one could see how much importance the Heavy Sword sect placed on Luo Batian. He'd brought along 5 king rank experts with him, and there were even 2 formidable earthly Emperor realm experts. Such a force was sufficient to allow him to look down upon all experts anywhere he went. Li, moo moo. Moo. Moo he moo moo. Moo. Moo moo. Hee old dog, do you have that ability? Luo Batian crossed his arms in front of his chest and retorted in disdain. Mu Huai clenched his fists. He did not dare to disobey Xiao Songlin. Mu Huai clenched his fists tightly. He did not dare to go against Xiao Songlin's will and retreated to Xiao Songlin's side. Mu Huai clenched his fists. He did not dare to disobey Xiao Songlin. Many experts gathered in the sky above the Purple Heaven sect. "Lord Yun, is this how you treat your guests?" Luo Batian looked at Yun Xiong and asked sarcastically. His arrogant eyes showed that he did not put Yun Xiong in his eyes at all. No one knew if it was because of his character in the Heavy Sword sect or if he really had the ability to be arrogant. After all, this was the territory of the Purple Heaven sect. Yun Xiong frowned and said, "Young Master Luo, we have agreed to your request. Why did you take away the disciple of Wooden Flag Peak? Could it be that young Master Luo is going back on his word? Hurry up and let them out. We don't want to hurt the relationship between the 2 sects." Su Jianan advised. Luo Batian sneered, "I was just about to discuss this with Sect Master Yun." He paused for a moment before continuing. "Then Mu Chi Feng's junior sister can be Lady Yun's dowry maid. To be the future mistress of our Heavy Sword sect, it would be inexcusable to not have a dowry maid. Furthermore, when Lady Yun arrives at our Heavy Sword sect for the first time, she will need someone familiar to accompany her." Bastard, it is your honor to marry our lady. How dare you ask for a dowry? Don't think that you can bully others just because your heavy sword sect is strong. This is the Purple Heaven sect, not your heavy sword sect. The peak lords were angered by Luo Baitian's words. Gu Shi, who was usually the friendliest, was the first to scold Luo Baitian. Everyone present was a peak lord. No one wanted to attach themselves to the heavy sword sect, but they had no choice but to agree. However, Luo Baitian was too arrogant. He wanted to take away 2 girls from the Purple Heaven sect. Yun Mingqi was married to the Purple Heaven sect, but Ji Beixin was not related to the Purple Heaven sect. Luo Baitian wanted to take the buy one get one free Ping Yi. As soon as Gu Shi finished scolding, he felt a powerful pressure coming towards him. Watch out! Xiao Songlin reacted the fastest. He wanted to block it for Gu Shi, but it was too late. Gu Shi's chest was hit and he was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Whoever dares to speak rudely again, don't blame me for being impolite. The old man from the heavy sword sect said coldly. It was his aura that had injured Gu Shi. Good. I didn't expect your heavy sword sect to be so arrogant. Let me experience your power. Wu Youzu was an unyielding man. He was the first to jump out when he saw his junior was injured. He rushed towards the elder from the heavy sword sect and launched a powerful elemental attack at the elder. You are not qualified for Elder He to make a move. Another Earth Emperor from the Chong sword sect blocked Wu Youzu's powerful move in advance and quickly countered with a palm strike. Wu Youzu clenched his fist and met the elder's attack head-on. Boom! Powerful energy fluctuations shook the surroundings, causing explosions to ring out in all directions. The energy dispersed and Wu Youzu was actually forced back dozens of steps, while the other party stood in the same place, not moving an inch. Mid-level strength. Wu Youzu exclaimed while suppressing the blood in his body. He was a low-level Earth Sovereign, but he was pushed back by a single attack. It was obvious that his opponent was much stronger than him. As the energy spread and vibrated, figures instantly swept out between the peaks of the Purple Heaven sect. Dozens of King Stage experts flew towards them. This was the true strength of the Purple Heaven sect. At the same time, 3 figures flew at high speed and arrived among the crowd in an instant. Who dares to offend the Purple Heaven sect? An elder covered in intense flames shouted. His voice was deafening like a clap of thunder in a clear sky. He was the previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak, and the other 2 were the supreme elders of the Golden Tree Peak and the Azure Spring Pavilion. At present, a total of 6 earthly sovereigns had appeared in the Purple Sky sect, and all 9 peak lords were present. Along with the elders of the various peaks, there were a total of a few dozen king rank experts. If an 8th rank sect was this powerful, then a 7th rank sect must be even more terrifying. Sect leader Yun, have you thought it through? Do you really want to become enemies with the heavy sword sect? Luo Baitian ignored the question of the previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak and asked Yun Xiong calmly. What an arrogant junior. The previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak was furious at being ignored by Luo Baitian. A powerful aura surged toward Luo Baitian. Before the King Stage aura could reach Luo Baitian, the old man from the heavy sword sect stepped in front of Luo Baitian. The aura was like a stone thrown into the sea without any power. The previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak was already a middle-stage Earth Sovereign, but his aura couldn't affect the old man at all. It was clear that the old man's strength was unfathomable. Whoever dares to move, don't blame me for being impolite. The old man from the heavy sword sect was finally angered. A powerful aura rose from his body, and a strong gust of wind blew in the surroundings, causing the air to tremble violently. The previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak, who was the closest to him, was forced to retreat. A peak Earth Sovereign. The previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak steadied himself, and his expression became one of shock. The other people from the Purple Heaven sect were shocked. They didn't expect the old man following Luo Baitian to be a terrifying expert who had reached the peak Earth Sovereign. Although there were 6 Emperor Stage experts on the Purple Heaven sect's side, the strongest was still Wood Flag Peak's Xiao Songlin, who was at the peak of the middle stage Earth Sovereign, followed by the previous elder of the Scarlet Fire Peak. The others were only low-stage Earth Sovereigns. If they really fought, they might not be a match for the old man even if they joined forces, not to mention that the other party had a middle-stage Earth Sovereign. At this time, a beautiful figure flew over from afar. She was like a fairy from the ninth heaven, and her peerless charm made all the beautiful scenery around her pale in comparison. Yun Mingqi arrived in front of the crowd and frowned slightly, but she didn't say anything. Luo Batian stared at Yun Mingqi's flawless face and thought to himself, that's her. Besides a woman like her, who else is worthy of being my wife? Young Master Luo, I think you'd better hand over the person. You're making things difficult for me. Yun Xiong took the opportunity to say to Luo Batian. Ha, sect leader Yun, I've already made it very clear just now. Miss Yun will marry me and the junior sister below will be her dowry maid. My decision will not change even if you don't agree. Luo Batian laughed wantonly. He didn't put the experts of the Purple Heaven sect in his eyes at all. Xiao Songlin couldn't bear it anymore and shouted, does my Purple Heaven sect really have no one? For a moment, everyone was on guard. Do you think you can bully us just because you have more people? Old dogs, open your eyes and see clearly, this young master is not so easy to bully. Luo Batian snorted coldly and the spirit beast bracer on his wrist flashed. A powerful spirit beast instantly appeared in front of the people of the Purple Heaven sect. Roar. An earth-shattering roar of a beast shook everyone, causing them to panic. When they saw the spirit beast's figure clearly, their faces turned extremely ugly. Chapter 452. What they saw was a lion. This lion was very tall, its body was nearly 10 meters long, and it looked like a small hill, making it hard for people to breathe. Its huge head, the loose hair on its neck, its deep mouth and its bloodthirsty fangs made it look extremely sinister. Its body of yellow hair was like a wave, and with a gentle shake the halos of light rippled, giving people a very novel feeling. A huge lion, a lion that could fly in the air. This was impressively a mid-stage 6th order astral yellow lion, the overlord of the jungle, the king of the 100 beasts. No one from the Purple Sky sect thought that Luo Batian actually had such a trump card, and this trump card was enough to send them into the cold cellar. If there was a slight mistake, it might be their life-demanding Lion King. The 6 great earthly emperors of the Purple Heaven sect all had ugly expressions on their faces. When it came to spirit beasts, they also had them, but they didn't have such a high-grade spirit beast. At most it was only a 5th-grade spirit beast. How about this, everyone? It is the honor of your Purple Sky sect that Miss Yun can marry me, and it is not a loss for junior sister Exen to be a dowry, don't you think? Luo Batian crossed his arms in front of his chest, and said with a playful smile on his face. A mid-stage 6th-order spirit beast was equivalent to the strength of a mid-stage Empyrean, and in the Purple Sky sect, no one could fight against it. As long as he gave the order, the Purple Sky sect would be destroyed. This was also the real reason why he dared to forcibly capture Ji Beixin. If he didn't have this astral yellow lion by his side, he wouldn't be so impulsive and rash. After all, this was not the territory of their heavy sword sect. The pressure of the astral yellow lion made it hard for everyone to breathe, and even Mu Huai, who had always been very stubborn, quieted down. Although he was very dissatisfied with the marriage and also dissatisfied with Luo Batian and the heavy sword sect, he had to consider the safety of the thousands of sect disciples. At this time Yun Mingqi lightly stepped forward and lightly opened her red lips and said, "Senior brother Luo, are you going to force me to buy and sell? It seems that you have no sincerity towards me at all." Yun Mengqi's words were very gentle and pleasant to listen to. It was like a stream of water in a forest, gently tapping on Luo Beixin's heart. Hearing this, Luo Batian felt extremely comfortable. He softly said to Yun Mingqi, "Miss Yun, you've misunderstood. My love for you is something that the heavens have taken pity on. That's why I've shamelessly come all the way here to propose marriage. It's just that I'm afraid that after Miss Yun marries me, there won't be anyone you're familiar with in the heavy sword sect. That's why I invited junior sister Exen back to accompany you. Who would have thought that everyone would misunderstand me, so I had no choice but to do this. As long as everyone agrees to marry junior sister Exen to Miss Yun, this matter will end here. I don't want to fall out with everyone, right?" Though Luo Beixin's words were no longer as domineering as before, they were filled with disdain and contempt. It was as if the people from the Purple Sky sect were nothing in his eyes. Yun Mingqi revealed a smile that made hundreds of flowers pale in comparison. "This is just a small matter. Senior brother Luo, there's no need to be angry. I'll discuss it with father and the other elders. I'll definitely make you satisfied." Luo Batian didn't expect Yun Mingqi to be so easy to talk to. He immediately smiled and replied, "Sure." Then he waved at the astral yellow lion, telling it to calm down. At this time, Yun Xiong also slightly waved his hand towards some of the elders. Some of the elders from the various peaks quickly returned to their respective peaks, but their hearts were no longer calm. "Father, elders, with my status, it shouldn't be too much for me to need a maid to accompany me, right?" Yun Mingqi lightly asked Yun Xiong and the elders. Yun Xiong narrowed his eyes as he looked at his daughter. He suddenly felt that his daughter was very unfamiliar. The elders of the other peaks all looked at each other, not knowing how to reply. Mu Huai couldn't help but say, "Miss, you can bring the dowry maid, but it's impossible for that child Ji Beixin to accompany you." "Elder Mu, why can't she come with me? Could it be that she's your true disciple?" Yun Mingqi asked. "She is the daughter of one of this old man's former disciples. I will not allow her to be humiliated by scoundrels." Mu Huai replied very firmly. In his heart he felt a deep sense of disgust towards the current Yun Mingqi. He never thought that this pure and flawless girl who he had watched grow up would actually become so cold. She hadn't even married yet, but she was already siding with the people of the Heavy Sword sect. This was too hard for him to accept. At the same time he felt that his precious disciple was not worthy of your love. "Xiao, if you were here I believe that you would be very sad. This kind of woman is not worthy of you liking. Elder Mu, why are you so stubborn? If junior sister Exen follows me to the Heavy Sword sect, her achievements will only be higher. Moreover, I can take care of her for you. I won't let her suffer any grievances. Don't you believe me?" Yun Mingqi said. At this time Luo Batian couldn't help but interrupt from behind, "That's right, I won't treat them badly." However, in his heart he was thinking proudly, "I will let them know the taste of happiness. It's good that you have such a good heart. In short, no matter what, I will not let you take her away unless you step over my old life." Mu Huai coldly snorted. He had already thrown caution to the wind. If he couldn't even protect the person that his disciple had entrusted to him, how could he still have the face to be a master? "You really don't want face when I give you it?" Thick killing intent flashed in Luo Beixin's eyes. "Senior brother Mu, why don't we just let them go? In any case, she's just an ordinary female disciple." Yun Xiong tried to persuade him. He had never seen Ji Beixin before, but he could imagine that she should be a pretty girl. Otherwise she wouldn't have attracted Luo Batian to kidnap her. He felt that she was just an ordinary disciple. Even if she was given as part of his daughter's dowry, it wouldn't be a big deal. Moreover, the Heavy Sword sect was a big sect, so she wouldn't be treated badly. All right. I didn't expect the sect master to think so too. Haha. Mu Huai's heart suddenly ached. He felt that the sect master that he had followed for so many years was actually so snobbish. He didn't even care about the face of his own sect, and he could even give away his own disciple at will. A sense of desolation and disappointment filled his heart. Then a resolute expression appeared on his face. "Today I, Mu Huai, will leave the sect. I will no longer be an elder of the Purple Sky sect." His voice was like a clap of thunder that shook the entire Purple Sky sect. "Junior brother, don't be impulsive." Mu En's expression changed and he immediately tried to persuade Mu Huai. Su Jianan also said, "Junior brother Mu, why do you have to be like this? Senior brother Mu, don't be like this. There's still room for discussion." When Haiyan, who had just arrived, also tried to persuade him. The other peak lords also tried to persuade him. However, just as they were trying to persuade him, Mu Huai suddenly disappeared in front of them. "If you want to hide from me with that speed?" The old man from the Heavy Sword sect snorted coldly. He pointed with one hand and an elemental light shot downwards. Puff. Mu Huai, who had just disappeared, was instantly injured in one of his legs. There was a bloody hole on his thigh and blood was gushing out. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the injury on his leg, and continued to fly towards the pavilion with all his might. It was obvious that he wanted to save Ji Beixin. "You're courting death." The old man from the Heavy Sword sect shouted again, and a palm print pressed towards Mu Huai. "You want to kill my disciple? No way." Xiao Songlin looked up, and a green spiritual sword appeared in his hand. He slashed the palm print of the old man from the Heavy Sword sect in half. "You dare to stop me? I'll send you and your disciple to hell." The old man from the Heavy Sword sect frowned slightly. He kept forming palms with his hands, and a powerful ball of light blasted towards Xiao Songlin. The spiritual sword in Xiao Songlin's hand was one of the 2 spiritual weapons of the Purple Sky sect. He waved the long sword, and the ball of energy from the old man from the heavy sword sect was cut into pieces. It did not cause any damage to the old man. However, just as he was about to block the attack, the elder from the heavy sword sect suddenly appeared behind him. "Senior brother Xiao, behind you," the supreme elder of the Red Flame Mountain shouted. He wanted to rush over to help, but the other earthly emperor from the heavy sword sect stopped him. Xiao Songlin was 1 level lower than the old man and his strength was not on the same level. Although someone warned him, he was already locked on by the old man, and there was no way he could escape. He could only forcefully counterattack with his sword, hoping to recover some of his disadvantage. However, before his sword could reach Xiao Songlin, he was hit by the old man's palm. He was thrown far away and the dark protection force on his body was shattered. Blood sprayed out like flowers in summer. "Senior brother Xiao. Let's fight him." Wu Yulai and Wu Youtsu had the closest relationship with Xiao Songlin. When they saw that Xiao Songlin was injured, they couldn't help but attack the old man from the heavy sword sect at the same time. A grain of light dares to compete with the bright moon. The old man from the heavy sword sect shouted lightly, and his whole body rushed towards Wu Yulai and Wu Youtsu. Rumble. Powerful attribute lights intertwined with each other. 2 figures were blasted far away and they were the 2 brothers Wu Yulai and Wu Youtsu. The 2 elders of the previous generation of the Golden Tree Peak and the Jade Spring Pavilion wanted to move, but they didn't dare to because the yellow dipper lion was staring at them fiercely. If they moved they would definitely suffer. "Go and catch the one down there," Luo Batian said to a high-level king stage expert beside him. The high-level king stage expert nodded and immediately went into the pavilion. Muan was worried about Mu Huai's safety and he wanted to go down to save him, but he was blocked by the people from the heavy sword sect. After a while, the high-level king stage expert from the heavy sword sect flew out with the heavily injured Mu Huai. Mu Huai's aura was extremely weak and his face was terrifyingly pale. "Old dog, how do you want to die for blocking my good fortune?" Luo Batian coldly stared at Mu Huai and said. At this time Yun Mingqi quickly arrived in front of Luo Batian. "Senior brother Luo, forget it, it's not worth it to hurt our friendship for such an insensible person. No matter what, he is still our Purple Sky Sect's peak lord. Let him go, otherwise people will say that I don't want my own family." Luo Batian was slightly stunned when he heard this and said, "All right, I'll listen to Miss Yun." Just when the high-level king stage expert from the heavy sword sect was about to release him, Mu Huai spat out a mouthful of blood towards Luo Batian. "Pa, if you have the guts, kill me. This old man doesn't need you adulterers to pity me." Luo Batian was caught off guard and his face was stained with the fishy blood. His face revealed a sinister expression and he said, "Kill this old dog." The blood just now was sprayed out by Mu Huai with inner strength. Seeing Luo Batian stained with blood, he revealed a satisfied smile and his old eyes gradually closed. The faces of the people from the Purple Sky sect changed, but no one dared to step forward to save him. Seeing that Mu Huai was about to die in front of them, an angry voice suddenly sounded, "Whoever dares to touch my master, I will destroy his entire family." Chapter 453. "Whoever dares to touch my master, I will kill his whole family." This voice was like a thunderclap, and it shook the eardrums of the surrounding people to the point of buzzing. Some of the weaker king stage experts almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, they weren't the target of this voice, so they were able to stabilize their minds and didn't suffer any substantial injuries. As for the high-level king stage cultivator who wanted to kill Mu Huai, his head was shaken to the point that it was in a mess, and his eardrums were overflowing with blood. His hand couldn't help but soften and Mu Huai fell from the sky. "Junior brother." Muan's eyes were anxious and he rushed towards Mu Huai trying to catch him. However, a figure was faster than him, so fast that even the crowd couldn't see who it was. They only saw a blur and then Mu Huai was hugged by that person. When the crowd fixed their eyes on that person, the pupils of the people of the Purple Heaven sect also shrank, and they all showed a look of horror. They actually saw a person who should not have appeared in the world anymore. The people of the Heavy Sword sect just frowned slightly and didn't think it was a big deal. They muttered in their hearts, It turns out that he is just a middle-stage king-stage cultivator. I thought he was some great big shot ba. A young man held Mu Huai who was dying and his face was full of anger. This was a young man in his early 20s. His handsome face had become terrifyingly malevolent due to his anger. His black hair fluttered in the wind and every strand of hair was like a spirit snake. The golden dragon scales that surrounded his body made him seem exceptionally noble. A golden dragon phantom soared into the sky, and the dragon roared incessantly. It seemed that its reverse scale had been touched, and that terrifyingly strong killing intent made people tremble without even thinking about it. This was Ling Xiao who had rushed from the Purple Heaven City. He had thought that the conflict between Mu Huai and the sect master would not be too fierce, so he didn't hurry along the way, which almost led to the tragedy. Ling Xiao looked at Mu Huai who was covered in blood and his heart was bleeding. Although Mu Huai didn't teach him anything powerful on the wooden flag peak, he cared for Ling Xiao a little bit and protected Ling Xiao, which made Ling Xiao feel that it was really good to have such a master, and he had a sense of belonging. He felt that no matter how strong he was, he would always be a cherished disciple in front of his master. However, as soon as he returned, he saw his master beaten half to death by someone else. A strong hostility rose to the sky. "Brat, if you know what's good for you, you'd better scram. Otherwise, I'll kill this old dog first before sending you on your way with him." Luo Batian looked at Ling Xiao who had suddenly appeared. Because he had also been affected by that shout, his eardrums were still hurting. Most importantly, his future woman Yun Mingqi was staring at that brat without blinking. This caused the flames of jealousy in him to burn even brighter. Ling Xiao acted as if he hadn't heard it. Instead, he stared at Mu Huai in his arms like a child and said in a choked voice, "Master, I'm back." At the same time, he fed a rank 4 healing medicinal pill to Mu Huai. Although Mu Huai was seriously injured, he still had a breath left in him. After taking the medicinal pill, coupled with his wood attribute healing technique, he gradually regained some of his senses. He looked at his apprentice who was very close to him and revealed a look of disbelief. He muttered, Xiao, is Master dead? Otherwise, how can I see you?" Mu Huai's mental state was extremely poor. He thought that he had gone to the underworld to meet Ling Xiao. "Master, I'm back. You're not dead and no one can let you die. Even the God of Heaven is not qualified," Ling Xiao said faintly. His anger continued to spread out, causing the surrounding people to tremble. What a terrifying killing intent. This sentence appeared in everyone's mind. Luo Batian frowned and gave a look to the high-rank king stage disciple who had just injured Mu Huai. The high-rank king stage disciple understood tacitly and punched out without warning. Everyone came back to their senses. Muan tried to stop it, but it was still a step too late. Yun Mingqi couldn't help but exclaim, "No!" Rumble. The people of the Purple Heaven sect were shocked. The most outstanding disciple was actually attacked in front of their eyes. "Do you really want to start a massacre in our Purple Heaven sect?" When Haiyan of the Jade Spring Pavilion had always admired Ling Xiao. When she saw Ling Xiao being attacked, she couldn't help but shout angrily at Luo Batian. Luo Batian ignored Wen Haiyan and shifted his gaze to Yun Mingqi. He felt more and more unhappy. With his intuition, he could feel the strong fluctuations of Yun Mingqi's emotions. "This boy must die." This sentence flashed in Luo Batian's mind. On the other side, Mu En was already on the verge of a violent rage. His junior brother was already seriously injured and now Ling Xiao was injured in front of him. He madly attacked the high-rank king stage disciple of the heavy sword sect. "Martial uncle, come back first." An indifferent voice faintly rang out. Everyone looked in another direction and saw that the tall and straight figure was still motionless. It was as if the high-rank king stage disciple's full-strength attack hadn't injured him in the slightest. That dragon-scale armor was constantly emitting a dazzling light, causing people to feel that this young man really did have the aura of a king, causing them to be subdued. When Mu En heard Ling Xiao's shout, he shook off the person and quickly rushed to Ling Xiao's side. "Xiao, are you all right?" "I'm fine. He's not even worthy of scratching an itch for me," Ling Xiao sneered. He then handed Mu Huai to Mu En and said, "Martial uncle, look after my master. Xiao, don't be impulsive. Your master and I are already planning to leave the sect. Let's go together. We're not their match. They're from the heavy sword sect." Mu En took Mu Huai and immediately said to Ling Xiao. He could see that Ling Xiao's strength had greatly improved. He was sure that he had obtained some sort of fortuitous encounter in the secret realm. But even so, he didn't think that Ling Xiao would be able to obtain any benefits. The people from the Heavy Sword sect were all terrifyingly strong, and they even had a yellow dipper lion at the mid-6th stage. Even if the Purple Sky sect used all their strength, they might not be able to kill them, let alone Ling Xiao, who was only at the mid-rank king stage. People from the Heavy Sword sect. It would have been better if Mu En hadn't said anything. When Ling Xiao heard that it was someone from the Heavy Sword sect, a beautiful figure instantly appeared in his mind. He would never forget the parting words, "I blocked it." In an instant, Ling Xiao's eyes turned red with anger. A powerful aura soared into the sky, and the golden dragon image let out a deafening roar. This time, the golden dragon image became more and more solid, as if a real dragon had appeared in the world. The entire Purple Sky sect was shaken. That's a real dragon. Who could actually cause such a phenomenon? It can't be the people from the Heavy Sword sect, right? They're really going too far. If I had the strength, I would definitely kill them all. Sai, what can I do? Who told them to have a hard fist? In this world, a hard fist is the truth. Damn that. That seems to be Elderling? Which Elderling? Which Elderling? Wooden Flag Peaks Ling Xiao, Elderling. The attendants and disciples of the Purple Sky sect began to discuss among themselves. Looking at the golden dragon, they all had the urge to worship it. Not far from the pavilion, Qin Wenyu was sitting on his green-winged eagle, looking at Ling Xiao with a surprised expression. His mouth was wide open. Junior brother actually came out? Qin Wenyu was pleasantly surprised and worried at the same time. His heart was extremely conflicted. On one hand, he was pleasantly surprised that Ling Xiao had escaped, but on the other hand, he was worried that Ji Beixin would no longer belong to him. Sai, junior sister Xian has always been cold to me. In her heart, she only likes junior brother Ling. If I were a woman, I would also like a dragon among men like junior brother Ling. Qin Wenyu sighed softly, his heart filled with bitterness. However, he had already gotten over it. Ji Beixin had never liked him in the first place. It was just his wishful thinking, so he could only hide this love in his heart. On Scarlet Flame Peak, a young man covered in flames ran to the top of the mountain. Looking at the golden dragon's shadow, he laughed out loud. "Ha, I knew that junior brother Ling would definitely be able to escape. I don't have to feel too guilty now." After he finished laughing, he shook his wrist slightly, and a scarlet flame tiger appeared beside him. He jumped onto the tiger's back and rushed in the direction of the pavilion. On Artifact Refining Peak, there was also a young man staring at the golden dragon's shadow with a burning gaze. His expression became excited. A fire cloud lion walked out from behind, and without thinking he jumped onto the lion's back and also rushed towards the pavilion. In the Jade Spring Pavilion, a pure and innocent girl stared unblinkingly at the sky above the pavilion. Her beautiful eyes flashed with tears as she muttered, "Senior Sister Luo, he's back? He's really back." After saying that, she ran towards the private room with all her might. On Medicine Peak, a young man dressed in a professional artificer's robe stared at the sky not far away and waved his fists tightly. "I knew that boss was blessed with a great life. No matter what difficulty it was, it wouldn't be difficult for him." The young man was rather calm as he stared blankly at the golden figure. His eyes were filled with worship. In his heart, he firmly believed that the golden figure would definitely stand like this forever. No matter what difficulty it was, it would be difficult for him to be knocked down. The golden dragon's roar was endless, and it shook the air and caused it to churn. "What are you waiting for? Quickly send him on his way." Luo Batian looked at Ling Xiao, who was in the limelight, and shouted at his high-ranked king stage cultivator with dissatisfaction. The man came back to his senses and slashed at Ling Xiao with the giant sword in his hand. The high-ranked king stage cultivator from the Heavy Sword sect had already used his full strength, and he was determined to kill Ling Xiao with one strike. That was because he thought that the attack just now could take Ling Xiao's life, but Ling Xiao was actually unharmed. This made him extremely angry. He felt that this kid must be wearing a high-ranked defensive armor. Otherwise, how could he still be alive? This time he changed his strategy. The giant sword was actually aimed at the human's weakest point, the head. Xiao Songlin, who was injured not far away, wanted to help, but unfortunately the old man from the heavy sword sect had locked onto him. He didn't have any chance to help, and this made him very anxious. Mu En held Mu Huai in his arms and shouted at Ling Xiao, "Xiao, quickly run." At the same time he freed his other hand and raised the Xian rod to help. However, the speed of the giant sword was too fast and he couldn't help in time. Just when the giant sword was about to slash at Ling Xiao's head, a light blue longsword cleverly shot over. Chapter 454. No one had expected Ling Xiao's return. After all, the heaven-suppressing sex restriction in the secret realm could only be opened by the joint efforts of several earthly sovereigns. When Ling Xiao was sealed in the secret realm, he was only a high-level spirit master. Even though his strength had improved greatly and he had stepped into the mid-stage king stage, it was still not enough to break the restriction and come out of the secret realm. Therefore, no one had ever thought that Ling Xiao could reappear in the world. Everyone in the Purple Sky sect almost regarded Ling Xiao as a dead man, including Mu Huai and Yun Mingqi. However, now that Ling Xiao had returned in shock, all of them couldn't accept it. If it was before, they would definitely be very happy to see Ling Xiao's current strength. After all, he was a genius of the Purple Sky sect and a fourth-stage alchemist. If Ling Xiao continued to grow like this, they would definitely have one more earthly sovereign and a fifth-stage alchemist in the future. It was Ling Xiao's fault for being so young. A 21-year-old mid-stage king stage, a fourth-stage alchemist. Whether it was in the northwest or the south, he was definitely the only one. Although Luo Batian was a 30-year-old high-stage king stage genius, he was a monstrous genius in the northwest. However, he didn't have a distinguished identity like Ling Xiao, which meant that it was difficult for him to compare with Ling Xiao. Now, such a monstrous genius was no longer part of the Purple Sky sect. Looking at the relationship between him and Mu Huai, and the fact that Mu Huai had already left the sect, Ling Xiao definitely wouldn't stay. They couldn't help but ask themselves if their decision this time was right or wrong. They didn't know what to say, and there was only mourning in their hearts. Not to mention what would happen to Ling Xiao now that he was facing a fatal blow and the thunderous fury of the heavy sword sect. Would he be able to escape this calamity? They didn't have the confidence. Facing the sword of the heavy sword sect's high-level king stage, Ling Xiao didn't take it seriously at all. However, others thought that he had dodged it. One of them managed to block the sword before Mu Huai could. A peerlessly beautiful figure stood in front of Ling Xiao, and a woman's fragrance wafted into Ling Xiao's nostrils. If it was the Ling Xiao of the past, he would definitely not be able to resist taking a few deep breaths to satisfy the desire in his heart. Then he would pull that delicate body into his arms and caress it. However, he wasn't in the mood to do so. Apart from being incomparably angry, his heart was also aching fiercely. Before he came here, he had heard Yun Mingqi say a few words to another young man. His heart felt as if it had been fiercely pierced by a bayonet. The direction he had worked so hard for, the goal he had been pursuing, had been destroyed in an instant. "Xiao, don't be rash. You're not his match." Yun Mingqi stood in front of Ling Xiao. Now Yun Mingqi was both surprised and happy. She was surprised that Ling Xiao had actually come out of the secret realm. She was happy that his strength had improved greatly and had actually caught up to hers. She had promised that as long as Ling Xiao's strength caught up to hers, she would obediently be his woman. Although she had already taken her relationship with Ling Xiao seriously, when Ling Xiao fulfilled her request, she was very proud in her heart. She remembered that this man had once disregarded everything to save her at the most dangerous time. She also remembered that this man had come from afar to participate in the sect's disciple selection for her. She also remembered that this man had worked hard from the Mystic Knight stage to catch up to her footsteps. His goal was to surpass her one day and become her man. Such a man who was willing to sacrifice for her, such an outstanding man, what else could she be dissatisfied with? She had originally thought that she would never see Ling Xiao again in this lifetime. She had even prepared to sacrifice herself to take revenge for Ling Xiao. She had agreed to the marriage so that she could openly enter the Heavy Sword sect and think of a way to destroy the Heavy Sword sect in the future. Otherwise, with her strength, she didn't know when she would be able to take revenge for Ling Xiao. Now that Ling Xiao had appeared, of course she didn't need to carry out her plan anymore. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao was on the verge of going berserk. It was impossible for him to understand Yun Mingqi's feelings. He also didn't know that Yun Mingqi had her own difficulties. He took a deep breath and faintly said, Get out of my way. Yun Mingqi's body trembled. She immediately turned around and said, Xiao Yu, what did you say? Listen to me. Yun Mingqi's heart was in a mess. At this time Mu En, who was at the side, interrupted her words. Xiao, I have already agreed to marry the young sect master of the heavy sword sect. From now on I will be the young sect master's wife. Mu En didn't want Ling Xiao to be tricked by Yun Mingqi, so he reminded Ling Xiao from the side. This was simply adding fuel to the fire in Ling Xiao's heart. Motherfucker, what are you still standing there for? Kill them for me. Luo Batian once again shouted at the high-level king-level cultivator. He saw that Yun Mingqi was actually protecting Ling Xiao. With one look he knew that the two of them must have had some kind of relationship. How could he let his woman pretend to be another man? Therefore Ling Xiao had to die. Yun Mingqi still wanted to explain, but the high-level king-level cultivator from the heavy sword sect bypassed her and charged towards Ling Xiao. He increased his speed to the extreme. Yun Mingqi, who was a middle-level king-level cultivator, couldn't keep up with him. The huge sword once again descended on Ling Xiao's head. Go to hell. The high-level king-level cultivator ferociously shouted. No. Yun Mingqi cried out in alarm. Just when everyone thought that Ling Xiao was going to die, they saw a shocking scene. The huge sword that was slashing towards Ling Xiao's head was caught by a hand. Everyone was dumbfounded. When had they ever seen a human's hand being able to contend against a profound-level weapon? But the truth was right in front of them. They rubbed their eyes and found that what they saw was indeed the truth. That's right, it was Ling Xiao who had caught the sword with his bare hand. You can go to hell now. Ling Xiao's eyes were bloodshot, and a voice that sounded like it came from the depths of hell came out of his mouth. As soon as Ling Xiao's voice fell, he sent a kick flying. The high-level king-level cultivator didn't put Ling Xiao in his eyes, but when he saw Ling Xiao single-handedly catching his rank 4 sword, he was stunned. While he was distracted, an intense pain came from his crotch. Ah! His whole body was sent flying and his crotch was dyed red. Ling Xiao's kick actually broke his crotch. This was a tragedy. Luo Batian frowned, seeing that one of his people was actually injured in one move. He immediately shouted, You actually dared to injure my heavy sword sex people, how dare you? Then he said to the other 2 king-level cultivators, Hurry up and finish him off. Yes, young master. The 2 king-level cultivators replied and rushed towards Ling Xiao. The heavy sword sect sent one person to save the injured king-level cultivator. We can talk things over, there's no need to make things like this. Yun Xiong persuaded. He didn't want others to cause trouble in the Purple Sky sect, but the pressure from the lion beside Luo Batian was too great, so he could only persuade him in a low voice, without any dignity as a sect master. Sect Master Yun, you don't need to feel embarrassed. That old dog has already left the sect. He is not a member of the Purple Sky sect. I will only kill the old and the young. I will not bring trouble to Sect Master Yun. Luo Batian said indifferently. Bah. At this time 2 blood-curdling screams could be heard. The 2 king-level cultivators who went to attack Ling Xiao didn't even get close to Ling Xiao before they both let out blood-curdling screams and fell from the sky. No one knew what was going on. How could 2 high-level king-level cultivators die before they could even use their full strength? Ling Xiao didn't pay attention to the 2, and in an instant he was not far from Luo Batian. His eyes were red with anger as he looked at Luo Batian and said faintly, Come here and accept your death. Just now, the 2 high-level king stage experts were killed by Ling Xiao using his mental energy. He could also kill Luo Batian in an instant, but he wanted to personally smash the young master of the heavy sword sect into pieces. He actually wanted to kill his master, steal his woman, and was the culprit who killed Luo Meiying from the same sect. This hatred must be settled and he must vent the anger in his heart, otherwise he would go crazy. Luo Batian didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so strange, actually injuring one of his high-level king-level cultivators, and then inexplicably killing 2 of his high-level king-level cultivators. Ling Xiao's strength was only at the mid-level king level. How could he do all this? However, although Luo Batian was puzzled, he was not afraid of Ling Xiao. He had always been a proud son of heaven in this vast northwest. The only person who could compare to him was the opponent in the Light Star Hall, and the person in front of him was not worthy of his attention. Seeing Luo Batian take a step forward, the old man from the heavy sword sect instantly appeared beside him and said in a low voice, Young master, let this old man deal with him, this kid is a bit strange. Luo Batian waved his hand and said disdainfully, A nameless brat is not worth your time. In any case, I haven't fought for a long time, so today is a good time to exercise my muscles and bones. Following that, Luo Batian stepped forward a few meters, pointed at Ling Xiao with one hand and shouted, "Report your name, I don't kill nameless people." Ling Xiao sneered and said, "A dead person is not qualified to know this young master's name." After saying that, Ling Xiao moved. He instantly disappeared in front of them. From the beginning he had used his full speed and many people in this constable could not catch his figure. Only the Earth Emperor realm experts were moved and exclaimed, "What a fast speed!" "Go to hell!" Ling Xiao cried out in shock, and his fist smashed towards Luo Baixian's face without any warning. Luo Baixian's eyes twitched and his head tilted backwards. Ling Xiao's fist brushed past the bridge of his nose, and the force of the blow caused his face to feel pain. Luo Batian was also amazing. As he dodged, he kicked towards Ling Xiao. In the face of Luo Baixian's counterattack, Ling Xiao did not dodge or evade. With a sneer on his face, he also kicked out like Luo Batian. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out, and one of them let out a blood-curdling scream. When the two of them separated, others would think that the one who would be injured would be Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao was standing there unscathed, while Luo Batian was hugging his leg with a pained expression. Needless to say, Luo Batian had suffered a great loss in the head-on clash just now. Luo Batian was finally enraged and a huge sword appeared behind his back. "Brat, you made me use my true strength. Even if I die, it will be worth it," Luo Batian said with a gloomy face. The huge sword released a powerful light, and streaks of saber shadows poured down like rain. The dense saber shadows and terrifying sword chi spread out, forcing the surrounding people to retreat far away. This move was definitely a high-grade sword technique, otherwise it would not have such terrifying power. Chapter 455. Luo Batian had always been the pride of the heavy sword sect. He became a Xian cultivator at the age of 13, a Xian cultivator at the age of 15, a spirit master at the age of 19, and a king at the age of 22. After that he spent another 8 years to reach the High King level. His growth could only be described as monstrous. He had always been hidden in the heavy sword sect and very few people knew of his existence. Now that he had reached the High King level, he was in high spirits, so the sect decided to choose a wife for him. Luo Baixian's wife would become the future wife of the young sect leader, so the choice of a wife was very important. Not only did she have to have an outstanding character and cultivation of Tenbin, she also had to have a status that was worthy of Luo Batian. Recently, the heavy sword sect had gathered information on the outstanding women of various sects, and picked out 3 women who had outstanding character and Tenbin as their targets. These 3 women were Wu Fengyue of the 7th rank sect, Yun Mingqi of the 8th rank sect, and Mu Ji of the moon-worshipping sect. Originally, their best target was Wu Fengyue of the charm sect. She was only 26 years old, but she was already at the mid-king level. Moreover, the power behind her was comparable to the heavy sword sect. If they could ally with the charm sect, then they could shake the Light Star Hall's position. Unfortunately, the charm sect had rejected them, so the heavy sword sect could only eat the lotus in silence, but they didn't dare to cause trouble for the charm sect. Therefore, the marriage fell on Yun Mingqi of the Purple Sky sect. After all, Yun Mingqi's Tenbin was more outstanding and she was also younger. As long as she was nurtured, her future achievements wouldn't be lower than Luo Baixian's. Moreover, the Purple Sky sect was much weaker than the Heavy Sword sect, so it would be easier to control. The people of the Heavy Sword sect didn't know that the younger generation of their sect had died at the hands of Ling Xiao of the Purple Sky sect. If they knew, they wouldn't have proposed the marriage, but would have directly killed their way to the Purple Sky sect and caused chaos. When Luo Batian arrived at the Purple Sky sect, he decided to make this beautiful woman his wife. Moreover, Yun Mingqi was even more beautiful and powerful than the information said. A 21-year-old mid-king level cultivator. Even he didn't have such a terrifying Tenbin. Originally, Yun Mingqi had also fallen in love with him at first sight, but who would have thought that a similarly monstrous young man would suddenly appear out of nowhere? He was about the same age as Yun Mingqi, but he was also at the mid-stage king realm. Moreover, he had reached the peak of the mid-stage king realm, and could break through to the high-stage king realm at any time. When Yun Mingqi saw this young man, her expression changed. Her eyes were filled with love as she looked at Nian Qing. Even an idiot could see that she had different feelings for him. Therefore Luo Batian had to kill Ling Xiao with his own hands. Only by displaying his strength in front of Yun Mingqi would she willingly submit to him. He had thought that he could easily take down Ling Xiao, but his leg was broken by Ling Xiao. This time he had lost all his face. Now he was brimming with killing intent. His first move was a frightening blue stare sword skill. The frightening sword rain completely drowned Ling Xiao. Laugh. Yun Mingqi cried out worriedly. She wanted to go over and save Ling Xiao, but Yun Xiong grabbed her hand and said, "Don't go over, you can't save him with your strength." "No, even if I die I'll be with him." Yun Mingqi wanted to shake off her father's hand, but Yun Xiong held on tightly. Luo Batian waved his sword with a malevolent expression on his face. "Die, you little bastard." However, a dazzling golden light appeared in the midst of the sword rain. Following that, a series of clanging sounds could be heard. Ling Xiao had actually used his golden fists to shatter the condensed sword rays. How is this possible? He actually used his physical body to destroy my attacks. Luo Batian was shocked. Ling Xiao ignored the sword rain and continued to sing, blasting a path through the sword rain and smashing it towards Luo Batian. The elder from the heavy sword sect couldn't help but exclaim, "Young master, don't let him get close." He could already see that Ling Xiao's physical body was extraordinary, and if Ling Xiao got close, even his young master would be at a disadvantage. Luo Batian naturally wasn't a brainless person. He no longer used elemental attacks and directly slashed at Ling Xiao with his giant sword. "Let this overlord see which is harder, your fist or my high-grade profound artifact." Luo Batian's eyes flashed with a ruthless light as his giant sword slashed at Ling Xiao in a yellow arc. Ling Xiao actually didn't dodge, and the golden dragon scales on his fists covered his hands like gloves, flashing with golden light. Clang! The giant sword and the fist clashed, emitting an ear-piercing sound. The giant sword had a hole in it, but the golden light on the fist was still flashing non-stop. Everyone's hearts were beating wildly at this scene. They all exclaimed in their hearts, "What kind of physical body is this? Bastards from the heavy sword sect, today is the day of your death." Ling Xiao's killing intent was awe-inspiring, and his aura was once again at its peak. His figure suddenly disappeared, but an afterimage remained in front of Luo Batian. "Young master, be careful behind you." The elder from the heavy sword sect caught hold of Ling Xiao's figure. He really wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but he knew that his young master's pride wouldn't allow him to do so. Luo Batian wanted to dodge after hearing the elder's warning, but Ling Xiao's fist was as fast as lightning, and it instantly landed on his back. Luo Batian was sent flying like a cannonball and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Ling Xiao's attack had only just begun, and his figure once again disappeared with a faint smile. Before Luo Batian could stabilize himself, Ling Xiao appeared beside him again. "Don't worry, I won't kill you immediately. I'll let you know what it's like to live a life worse than death." After saying that, Ling Xiao ruthlessly kicked Luo Batian again. Luo Batian felt as though he had been smashed by a 10,000-kilogram boulder, and even the defensive armor on his body seemed to be of no use. Luo Batian, who was sent flying again, let out a loud roar, and a powerful sound wave spread out with him as the center, causing the eardrums of the surrounding people to ring. This was his sound wave mystical technique, Lion's Roar. Ling Xiao didn't expect Luo Batian to have such a mystical technique, and he was momentarily stunned. Luo Batian finally found an opportunity to counterattack, and he casually threw away the huge sword in his hand as though it was trash, and an earth-yellow spiritual sword appeared in his hand. Rank 6 mid-tier yellow heavenly sword. This was an earth attribute spiritual sword, and this was Luo Batian's true weapon. "Little bastard, did you have a good time just now? Let's see how you resist my yellow heavenly sword. Go to hell." Luo Batian's eyes flashed with malice, and the yellow heavenly sword pierced towards Ling Xiao's lower abdomen. At this moment, everyone regained their senses and they just happened to see this scene. "No!" A few exclamations rang out at the same time. Unfortunately, it was of no use. Luo Batian's spiritual sword continued to pierce towards Ling Xiao courageously. The few people from the heavy sword sect revealed a delighted smile. In their eyes, their young master would never lose to a nameless kid. Poof! By the time Ling Xiao regained his senses, the spiritual sword had already reached his chest. He tried to dodge it, but it was too late and the spiritual sword still sank into his chest. Fortunately, the spiritual sword did not pierce his heart. In an instant, Ling Xiao's chest was dyed red with golden blood. Luo Batian was surprised for a moment, but he didn't show any mercy as he gave a vicious kick to Ling Xiao's lower abdomen. Ling Xiao separated himself from the spiritual sword, and his entire body flew downwards, crashing under the pavilion and smashing through the roof. Falling into the room of the pavilion, Ling Xiao only felt waves of pain and he almost fainted. Although his body was strong, it was still far from being comparable to a spiritual weapon. It was impossible for him to withstand the attack, not to mention that he had already lost his defensive state after being shaken by the lion's roar. Fortunately, he had the insane ancient emperor divine technique and that recovery ability was not a joke. Ling Xiao didn't have much time to recuperate. He took a few elixirs, suppressed his injuries and got up to fight again. At this moment a surprised voice came from beside him. "Xiao, is that you?" Hearing this familiar voice, Ling Xiao's body trembled slightly, then he turned his head, and saw a delicate and beautiful face looking at him excitedly. Exen, why are you here?" Ling Xiao didn't care about his injuries and rushed to Ji Beixin's side to ask. However, when Ling Xiao moved, it affected his injuries and he couldn't help but grimace in pain. "Xiao, you're injured, who is so heartless?" Ji Beixin's tears immediately flowed out like a fountain. Ling Xiao's originally angry and berserk state of mind was instantly melted by her tears. Ling Xiao gently wiped Ji Beixin's delicate face, wiped away the tears and said gently, "It's nothing, I was just accidentally stabbed, I'll be fine later." Just as Ji Beixin was about to say something, Luo Beixin's voice sounded faintly, "Little bastard, I know you won't die that easily. Quickly come out and die." Following Luo Beixin's voice, his yellow heaven sword shot out an earthen light, as if a small mountain was smashing down from the pavilion. He actually didn't care about the people below the pavilion, which showed how ruthless his heart was. Ling Xiao's reaction was fast enough. He picked Ji Beixin up, gritted his teeth and smashed into the wooden wall. Boom! An explosion rang out and a large part of the house in the pavilion was smashed into ruins. Fortunately, Ling Xiao's reaction was fast, otherwise he and Ji Beixin would have been buried alive here. Luo Batian had already expected that Ling Xiao wouldn't die so easily, so he raised his yellow heaven sword and chased after Ling Xiao, sending powerful earthen yellow sword beams towards him. "Stop!" Yun Mingqi took advantage of Yun Xiong's distraction to block his hand and raised her sword to intercept Luo Batian. Luo Batian didn't want to hurt Yun Mingqi, so he could only stop his attack and ask, "Junior Sister Yun, what is the meaning of this?" "This is the territory of our Purple Sky sect, not the territory of your Heavy Sword sect. Do you really want to destroy our Purple Sky sect by doing this?" Yun Mingqi changed her attitude towards Luo Batian and questioned him. Luo Batian sneered, "Didn't I say it before? I only want to kill that old and young dog. They are no longer members of your Purple Sky sect. Why do you have to do this, Junior Sister Yun?" In his heart he naturally understood that Yun Mingqi was protecting Ling Xiao, and in his heart he was even more determined to kill Ling Xiao. Yun Mingqi still wanted to say something, but Ling Xiao had already placed Ji Beixin next to Muan. He then rushed into the sky and a dragon's roar shook the horizon. Chapter 456. Ling Xiao finally used the dragon's Tenbin ability. The powerful sound wave was many times more powerful than Luo Beixin's lion roar. Many people were shaken and felt as if their eardrums were being pierced by sharp needles. Luo Batian took the brunt of the attack and was pushed back more than 10 meters. Blood flowed from his ears. Ling Xiao ignored his injuries and charged at Luo Batian as fast as he could. "Don't even think about succeeding, you little thief." The old man from the Heavy Sword sect instantly stood in front of Ling Xiao and slapped his palm toward Ling Xiao's chest. Although Ling Xiao was fast, he was greatly affected by his injuries. His opponent was a peak Earth Emperor, so it was not easy for him to avoid the attack. Seeing that Ling Xiao was about to be crushed by the palm, Xiao Songlin was too far away to help, and the others did not dare to act rashly. Unexpectedly, when the old man from the Heavy Sword sect slapped Ling Xiao's chest, he felt an inexplicable pain in his mind. It was as if his sea of consciousness was being cut by thousands of swords. Fortunately, he was a peak Earth Emperor, and his sea of consciousness had become his soul. He could resist some mental attacks, unlike martial artists below the king stage who would be instantly killed. Even so, he had to stop attacking Ling Xiao and put his soul in a defensive state. Seeing this, Ling Xiao gritted his teeth and extracted all his mental power from his sea of consciousness. The powerful mental power turned into countless swords that rushed into the old man's sea of consciousness. Ah! The terrifying and powerful mental power attack made him cry out in pain. Ling Xiao seized the opportunity and a long sword that was glowing red and blue appeared in his hand. The ice and fire swords streaked across the sky like shooting stars. Everyone only saw a blur before they saw a bloody mist bloom. The old man from the heavy sword sect had been cut in half in front of their eyes, and his corpse was nowhere to be found. Everyone was shocked. They rubbed their eyes hard. They could not believe it, but the truth was right in front of them. They had no choice but to believe it unless they were all dreaming. A peak Earth Emperor had been killed by a mere mid-stage king stage martial artist. This was simply inconceivable. Elder He, the people of the heavy sword sect cried out in anger. Boy, give me your life. The other earthly sovereign of the Chongjian sect was the first to come to his senses. He charged at Ling Xiao. Xiao Songlin risked his injuries and waved his spirit tool to block him. Although Xiao Songlin was injured, he had adjusted his breathing for a while. Moreover, he had a spirit tool in his hand. Therefore, he was not afraid of earthly sovereign realm cultivators who were at the same level as him. In addition, 2 mid-stage king-tier experts from the Chongjian sect wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Unfortunately, they were afraid. What kind of strength did their black elder have? Yet he could only die on the spot. If they went up, they would most likely die as well. They did not move, but Ling Xiao took the opportunity to chase after Luo Batian. Luo Batian panicked and could only summon the yellow earth lion. Lion King, eat him for me. Luo Batian jumped on the back of the yellow earth lion, pointed at Ling Xiao and shouted. His eyes were filled with anger. He must make this little bastard die without a place to hide. And this damned purple sky sect, he must let them know how powerful this overlord is. Luo Batian had suffered a loss here. Moreover, more than half of the people who came with him had died. Even the strongest black elder had died here. When he returned to the sect, he would definitely be punished. Therefore, he must pay the price with his blood. The yellow earth lion received Luo Batian's instruction and roared at Ling Xiao. When the lion opened its mouth, the experts of the purple sky sect quickly retreated. Roar! A powerful sound wave roared at Ling Xiao. Waves of yellow waves rippled endlessly, and the space seemed to have become distorted. The houses, trees, and rocks below were all shaken and sent flying. It was as if a Category 10 hurricane was blowing, and it was terrifying. Mu En, who was below, had already taken Mu Huai and Ji Beixin to hide far away. Ji Beixin's strength was still shallow. If she hadn't jumped quickly, she would have become deaf. Her beautiful face turned pale as she screamed towards the sky. Xiao. Mu En's expression was also extremely ugly. Mu Huai, who had just recovered a little breath, was knocked unconscious by the aftermath of the sound wave. Yun Mingqi, who was not far away, almost rushed into the sound wave, but Yun Xiong held her back, not allowing her to move forward. Father, if anything happens to Xiao, I don't want to live anymore. Yun Mingqi said resolutely, tears gushing out of her eyes. Yun Xiong was stunned for a moment. Daughter, didn't you agree to marry Luo Batian? Yun Mingqi's beautiful eyes flashed with killing intent and she lowered her voice. I thought I wouldn't be able to laugh. I agreed to it to avenge him. Do you also think that your daughter covets the position of their heavy sword sex, young madam? Yun Xiong finally understood. No wonder he felt that his daughter had become strange during this time. It turned out to be because of this reason. The sound wave shook for a while and finally calmed down. The surrounding scenery was almost completely destroyed, and the private room had completely turned into a wasteland. Haha! You dare to kill the people of my heavy sword sect. Today I will let you see how you offend this overlord. Luo Batian laughed very proudly. Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, his expression froze. His eyes looked as if they were about to pop out, and his mouth was wide open as if it was stuck by something. Other than him, the people not far away also became petrified like him. What did they see? A dragon. A 6-clawed blue flood dragon. That majestic appearance, that terrifying and powerful aura, made them have the urge to worship it. Heavens! That is a real flood dragon. From the looks of it, it's at least a rank 6 flood dragon. Too terrifying. The one sitting on top is Ling. Elderling is too impressive. If I had such a flood dragon, I would be willing to reduce my lifespan by dozens of years. Elderling is always so unexpected. Now our Purple Sky sect doesn't have to be afraid of anyone. The deacons and disciples below the various peaks of the Purple Sky sect all looked at the blue flood dragon with stars in their eyes. Their hearts were filled with endless worship for Ling Xiao. When the yellow earth lion roared, Ling Xiao immediately summoned the blue flood dragon. With its protective divine light, he was not affected by the lion's roar. Don't think that you are amazing just because you have a rank 6 spirit beast. Little dragon, get rid of them for me. Ling Xiao frowned as he pointed in the direction of the yellow earth lion. The blue flood dragon swung its tail and stood up straight. It did not immediately pounce over but instead used sound waves to fight back. Roar. Dragon's Tenbin's divine ability appeared. The dragon's roar was even more terrifying than the lion's roar, and the surrounding air seemed to be torn apart. The yellow earth lion had already sensed that the blue flood dragon was even more terrifying than its own strength. It did not dare to face it head-on and turned around to run. Luo Batian, who was sitting on the yellow earth lion, was also frightened to the point of panic. He never thought that a mere disciple of the Purple Sky sect would have such terrifying strength. He could not help but wonder, could it be that the Purple Sky sect has been hiding its strength? At the thought of this, cold sweat broke out on his back. Now he just wanted to escape from this place as soon as possible, or he would really die here. The yellow earth lion was not slow, but it was far inferior to the blue flood dragon, which was of a higher rank than it. Moreover, the yellow earth lion was dizzy from the dragon's roar. In an instant, it was ruthlessly scratched by the front claws of the blue flood dragon. Luo Batian, who was sitting on the yellow earth lion, was so frightened that he quickly jumped off the lion's back. The other earthly sovereign of the heavy sword sect cried out nervously, "Protect the young master." After he shouted, he immediately moved closer to Luo Batian with the remaining 2 mid-stage king stage experts of the heavy sword sect. Xiao Songlin, however, chased after them without any hesitation. Mu Huai was his favorite disciple and he had to vent his anger when he was injured by the heavy sword sect. At this time Yun Xiong shouted loudly, "Everyone stop fighting." What a joke, how could Yun Xiong not stop them? Luo Batian was causing trouble in their Purple Sky sect, so they could only try their best to endure it. Maybe nothing serious would happen, but if something happened to Luo Batian in their Purple Sky sect, it would be a disaster that would destroy their sect. After all, the heavy sword sect had been standing in the northwest for so many years, and their foundation and strength were not something they could compare with. Therefore Yun Xiong had to open his mouth to stop them. However, could he still stop them now? Impossible. Ling Xiao saw Mu Huai injured, knew that Ji Beixin was kidnapped by the heavy sword sect, and he had a grudge against Luo Ming. No matter what, Ling Xiao would never let the heavy sword sect go. Xiao Songlin was also determined to vent his anger for his disciple, so he did not take his words to heart. Ling Xiao jumped off the back of the blue flood dragon and let it deal with the yellow earth lion, while he charged towards Luo Batian. The ice and fire swords shot out fierce blue flames, forming a sea of fire in midair. Luo Beixin's yellow sky sword swept out layer after layer of earth walls, forming a strong defense in an attempt to isolate the terrifying sea of fire. He was shocked. This kid cultivates multiple elements at the same time, no wonder his combat strength is so abnormal. The yellow earth walls could not withstand the burning of the heavenly fire, and they turned into nothingness as soon as they came into contact. Luo Batian was shocked and quickly turned to run. Run? No way. Ling Xiao sneered and raised his speed to the extreme. He instantly caught up to Luo Batian and the ice and fire swords attacked him again. Luo Batian blocked with all his strength, using powerful sword techniques one after another. The battle between the two was so intense that the 2 mid-stage king stage cultivators could not get close. Boom boom boom. Ling Xiao was determined to kill Luo Batian, and the ice and fire profound skills were unleashed. Luo Batian was shaken to the point that the web between his thumb and index finger was torn, and his clothes were accidentally touched by the heavenly fire. At first he did not think much of it. After all, he was wearing a high-grade armor and it was nothing to block a little fire. However, it was precisely that bit of flame that was like a maggot's bone, igniting with a single touch. Bang! The blue flames instantly burned Luo Batian and he let out a shocking scream. He threw himself into the soil hoping to extinguish the flames. Unfortunately, the heavenly fire could burn anything and his efforts were futile. Young master. The Earth Emperor from the Heavy Sword sect heard Luo Batian scream and looked down, only to see Luo Batian rolling on the ground like a man on fire. A moment later he turned into nothingness. Chapter 457. Young Master. The Earth Emperor of the Heavy Sword sect cried out in alarm. Unfortunately, no matter how loud he shouted, Luo Batian and his high-ranked armor were all burned to ashes. Xiao Songlin took advantage of the moment when the Earth Emperor was distracted, and the spirit sword released a powerful green light. Swoosh swoosh. Countless rays of green light shot towards the Earth Emperor. The Earth Emperor was also amazing. He turned around in time and raised a blue wall of water to block the green light. However, the energy released by the spirit weapon might be terrifying, so how could his attribute light block it? The earthly sovereign was covered in wounds. Terrifying wounds crisscrossed one after another, as if he was going to be dismembered. In this moment of danger, the Earth Emperor of the Heavy Sword sect fought with his life on the line. A powerful blue light appeared around his body, and waves of water ripples collided with the sword moves with all his might. At the same time he decisively turned around and fled. His movement technique was not bad and in an instant he was 1,000 meters away. He did not forget to shout, "Our Heavy Sword sect will not let you off." Xiao Songlin wanted to chase after him, but he knew that he was too far away. The other Earth Emperors of the Purple Sky sect were also anxious. If they let the people from the Heavy Sword sect escape, their Purple Sky sect would only perish even faster. However, how could Ling Xiao let that person escape? He immediately commanded the Blue Dragon to chase after him. A dragon's roar shook the Earth Emperor of the Heavy Sword sect who had fled far away. The ice and fire sword in Ling Xiao's hand instantly flew out and he shouted, "Go!" Under the control of Ling Xiao's mind instructs, in a second, the ice and fire sword chopped off the head of the Earth Emperor who had fallen down. The ice and fire sword emitted a buzzing sound as it flew back to Ling Xiao's side. The other two middle-stage king-level experts of the Heavy Sword sect were already scared out of their wits. They immediately begged Yun Xiong for mercy. Sect leader Yun, you can't kill us, you will provoke a war between the two sections. They were also scared out of their wits. Even their young sect leader had died. This enmity had already been formed, so why would they care about killing two more insignificant people? What should we do? Yun Xiong's face was extremely pale. The thing he was most worried about still happened. Everyone in the Heavy Sword sect knew that their young sect master came to the Purple Sky sect to propose marriage. Now that Luo Batian was dead, everyone thought that it was the doing of the Purple Sky sect. The enmity between them and the Heavy Sword sect was too great. The person in question, Ling Xiao, did not care so much. The ice and fire sword shot out again. The heads of the two mid-stage King Realm experts were chopped off in front of Yun Xiong. This scene left the surrounding people speechless. After not seeing him for half a year, Ling Xiao gave them a feeling as if he was the ruler of the world, a high mountain that they looked up to. This decisive killing intent made them feel a chill in their hearts. Fortunately, Ling Xiao was not their enemy. At least for now, Ling Xiao would not treat them as enemies, right? On the other side, the astral yellow lion couldn't block the blue flood dragon's attack and was quickly torn in half by the blue flood dragon. A large amount of blood splattered down from the sky. Ling Xiao indifferently withdrew the ice and fire sword and summoned the blue flood dragon. Ling Xiao coldly looked around at the crowd, then his gaze fell on sect master Yun Xiong. Yun Xiong felt as if he had been pierced by two sharp blades, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. Ling Chong. Yun Xiong wanted to say something to Ling Xiao, but he was interrupted by Ling Xiao. Sect Master Yun, my master has already left the sect. I, Ling Xiao, will also leave the sect today. In the future I will have nothing to do with the Purple Sky sect. If anyone from the Heavy Sword sect comes, you can tell them that I was the one who killed them. Ling Xiao indifferently said, then landed in Mu Hen's direction. Yun Mingqi, who was not far away, felt her heart tremble. Ling Xiao actually ignored her, not even sparing her a glance. She only felt as if the world was about to collapse. Yun Mingqi desperately chased after Ling Xiao. Martial Uncle Mu and Mu Huai and I are going to leave. Will you come with us? Ling Xiao asked Muan. Muan immediately nodded. Of course, junior brother and I are like brothers. If he leaves the sect, why should I stay? Alright, I'll ask Grand Master if he's willing to leave. Ling Xiao was very touched and nodded. Then he turned his face to Xiao Songlin and called out, Grand Master, we've already left the sect. Do you want to come with us? The people of the Purple Sky sect were stunned. They didn't expect Ling Xiao and Muan to really make such a decision. It seemed as if they really didn't have any reluctance to leave. Brother Xiao, don't be impulsive. The Scarlet Flame Peak's previous generation elder hurriedly advised Xiao Songlin. Xiao Songlin lightly nodded, then revealed a kind smile to Ling Xiao and said, You guys can go out and explore. I don't want to move my old bones. The person in front of him was his grand disciple. He was actually able to kill all the experts of the Heavy Sword sect by himself. This kind of pressure was something that even they who had lived for hundreds of years couldn't do. And his grand disciple was only 21 years old. With this ability and this kind of pressure, it was already certain that Ling Xiao would definitely shine in this continent in the future. This Purple Sky sect, this northwest region, could no longer trap him, a true dragon that shines brightly. But Xiao Songlin was different. He had taken root in the Purple Sky sect for hundreds of years. His feelings for this place was not something that Ling Xiao and the others could imagine. Moreover, all the people from the Heavy Sword sect had died here. Their Purple Sky sect could be destroyed at any time. How could he abandon it? Master, take care. Muan called out reluctantly, then knelt down in front of Xiao Songlin and kowtowed a few times. The people of the Purple Sky sect looked at Ling Xiao and the others who were about to leave. They felt very uncomfortable in their hearts, but no one dared to say anything to stop them. After all, they were the ones who first proposed the marriage with the Heavy Sword sect. Xiao, I won't let you go. Yun Mingqi pounced from behind and hugged Ling Zhao's waist. Ling Zhao's heart ached. He never thought that Yun Mingqi would betray him, but he heard it with his own ears and his martial uncle confirmed it. Yun Mingqi had already agreed to marry the so-called young master of the Heavy Sword sect who was just killed by him. Once upon a time, the goddess in his heart had quietly been destroyed. Ling Xiao forcefully pushed Yun Mingqi's hand away. Miss Yun, please behave yourself. After saying that, he broke free from Yun Mingqi's embrace, walked over and carried Ji Beixin in his arms, and flew in the direction of the Purple Sky City. Muan looked at Yun Mingqi coldly, and also carried Mu Huai to catch up with Ling Xiao and disappeared into the sky. Yun Mingqi looked at the disappearing figure, and tears were already covering her delicate face. She used all her strength to shout, Xiao, why don't you believe me? Why don't you believe me? The voice kept reverberating in the air. In the next moment, Yun Mingqi's eyes darkened and she directly fainted. Mingqi! Yun Xiong cried out in alarm and quickly flew over. All the people of the Heavy Sword sect who came to propose marriage were all killed. The young generation of the Purple Sky sect cheered in their hearts, and it was their idol who was killed by a single person, which made them feel even more refreshed. But they didn't know that they were about to face the craziest revenge of the Heavy Sword sect. The elders of the Purple Sky sect were all dejected and none of them were in a good mood. They thought differently from the young people and they had to consider the safety of the entire sect. Judging from the strength that Luo Batian had shown today, the Heavy Sword sect was far more terrifying than their Purple Sky sect. The two were not on the same level. What ability did they have to stop the crazy revenge of the Heavy Sword sect? In the Purple Sky sect's meeting hall, the elders of the Purple Sky sect sat down. After a while, Sect Master Yun Xiong walked out from the back door. His expression was extremely ugly and he looked a bit older. He clearly hadn't recovered from what had just happened. Yun Xiong sat at the head of the table and after a moment of silence he said, Elders, what should we do? All the elders sighed softly, not knowing how to answer. In the end, the Scarlet Fire Peak's previous generation elder said, Try to keep that child. With him here, the Heavy Sword sect won't be able to stir up any waves. Originally, with their status as Grand Elders, they shouldn't have appeared in the meeting hall, but this time it was a matter of life and death for the sect, so they couldn't just close it. Senior brother is right. That child's flood dragon is already at the peak of the 6th step. As long as he's here, the sect will have nothing to worry about. The one who spoke was the Jade Spring Pavilion's previous generation elder, the only female earthly emperor. Ai, is there any use in saying this now? That child is a stubborn person. Since he has already left the sect, I'm afraid. The Golden Tree Peak's previous generation elder shook his head and sighed. For a moment, everyone fell into silence. If Elder Xiao comes forward, I think there's still a chance, the Jade Spring Pavilion's Wen Haiyan said. Yes, Junior Brother Mu listens to Elder Xiao the most. If Elder Xiao can bring Junior Brother Mu back, I think Elder Ling will also come back, the Golden Tree Peak Su Jianan agreed. The others also agreed with Wen Haiyan's words. Impossible, Senior Brother Xiao didn't leave, which is already worthy of the sect. How could he call his own disciple to come back and face this disaster with us? The Scarlet Flame Peak's previous generation elder waved his hand and interrupted their fantasies. Sitting at the head of the table, Yun Xiong didn't know what to say. At this time he didn't know whether his previous decision was right or wrong. He agreed to the marriage with the Heavy Sword sect, mostly for the sake of the sect's interests, but also for his own private interests, so that both sides could achieve the goal of mutual benefit. However, he completely didn't think that things would develop to this point. Seeing Ling Zhao's strong return, he inexplicably felt bitter in his heart. If he could stick to his principles and refuse the Heavy Sword sect, then their Purple Sky sect would now have a high 6th rank sect guardian spirit beast, as well as a young expert who could grow infinitely and a high rank alchemist. Unfortunately, all of this was outside of his expectations and also outside of his daughter's expectations. They couldn't help but sigh at Ling Zhao's luck. Not only was he trapped in the secret realm and didn't die, but he also obtained an opportunity that others would be unable to obtain in their lifetime. Why don't I personally ask them to come back? Yun Xiong had no choice but to face the cruel reality. If Ling Xiao could return to the sect, they would have a little capital to contend against the Heavy Sword sect. If Ling Xiao left the Purple Sky sect, then their Purple Sky sect would only have one result: destruction. Faced with such a choice, Yun Xiong felt that it was necessary for him to put down his identity and beg Mu Huai and Ling Xiao to come back. At the same time, he also hoped that his daughter could explain to Ling Xiao clearly, so that his daughter wouldn't live in pain for the rest of her life. Chapter 458. The vast Northwest was divided into a total of 36 territories, and the 3 largest and best territories were naturally controlled by the 3 rank 7 sections. The number 1 sect, the Light Star Hall, occupied the most territory, followed by the Charm sect and then the Heavy Sword sect. The Heavy Sword sect governed a total of more than 100 cities, and the scale of each city was definitely much more imposing and prosperous than the Purple Sky sect's territory. As for the city directly under the Heavy Sword sect, it was known as the Heavy City. This was one of the top 3 major cities in the Northwest, so there was no need to mention its degree of prosperity. The Heavy Sword sect was built in a place densely packed with majestic mountains not far from the Heavy City. The trees here were tall, spirit grasses were common, hundreds of flowers were everywhere, spirit birds were flying, and waterfalls were hanging upside down. This scenery could definitely be called unique. The spiritual energy here was much denser than the Purple Sky sects, so the disciples cultivating here were naturally much faster than the disciples of the lower-ranked sections. On top of the Spirit Mountain, buildings rose from the ground, faintly exuding a simple, ethereal, and mysterious aura. In this Spirit Mountain, there were also many martial artists walking with giant swords on their backs, appearing very unique. In the most majestic pavilion on the Spirit Mountain sat 8 old men who were already hundreds of years old. These old men all had their essence energy restrained, and their strength was unfathomable. If other martial artists were here, they would definitely discover that every one of them was actually an Earth Emperor stage powerhouse, and none of them had the strength of a low-level or mid-level Earth Emperor. As for the tall and thin old man sitting at the very top, he was impressively much stronger than the 8 people below him. He was actually an Empyrean-level super expert. In the Northwest, Empyreans were godlike existences. The Empyrean's eyes blossomed with a frightening fierceness, as if just looking at them would make one's entire body feel uncomfortable. He hoarsely said, "Hunter is dead?" The Peak Earth Emperor to his right replied nervously, "Yes, Grand Elder. Hei Exin and Zorn, who accompanied the young master, have their jade tubes of life extinguished." Although he was a Peak Earth Emperor and could be considered a top figure in front of this ancestor, he was just an ordinary commoner who had to be respectful to a great figure. The celestial master's eyes widened in an instant, and a strong murderous intent emanated from him, causing everyone present to hold their breaths. Tiana has the astral yellow lion by his side. In the northwest, besides those old farts, who else can kill him? The Empyrean said with grief and indignation. The peak earthly sovereign who had spoken just now said, "This time young master is going to the Purple Sky sect to choose a wife. There shouldn't be any accidents, but, are you crazy? You actually let Tian personally propose marriage. He is a dignified young master. How could he lower his status? He could have just sent someone from the Purple Sky sect to send the woman over. Now that Tiana is dead, who is going to take responsibility?" The old heavenly venerable interrupted the earthly emperor and said angrily. All the earthly sovereigns present trembled in fear, and none of them dared to utter a single word. "I don't care what method you use, you must find out who killed Tian. Also, this matter is definitely related to the Purple Sky sect. I don't care who it is, but if they dare to harm my Tiana's life, I will exterminate their entire sect." The heavenly venerable old man stood up and said faintly. That terrifying killing intent and aura filled the entire hall. "Yes, Supreme Elder." The 8 earthly sovereigns immediately bowed and responded. The 8 of them left the hall, and the heavenly venerable old man shouted, "Where is Feng Ying?" As soon as he finished speaking, another person immediately appeared in the hall. The man was wearing a mask and his face could not be seen clearly. He knelt on one knee in front of the heavenly venerable old man and replied, "Feng Ying is here. I order you to immediately rush to the Purple Sky sect and find out the truth. I don't believe that the Purple Sky sect has the ability to kill Tiana and the others. If it is really the doing of those 2 sects, I will definitely not let them off." The heavenly venerable old man said angrily, then threw an item to the man and said, "Wear this pair of wind boots, it can double your speed. You must understand this matter." "Yes, master." The man's face revealed a happy expression and he caught the item. He responded and followed out of the hall. In the city directly under the Purple Sky sect, Ling Xiao carried Ji Beixin and rushed to the courtyard he bought in the Purple Sky City with Mu En and Mu Huai. Cruel Leopard and Xin Li walked out of the house. "Master, you're back." Xin Li called out happily. Cruel Leopard bowed slightly. "Is young master all right?" They could hear the sound waves of the battle in the Purple Sky sect, and Cruel Leopard could sense the aura of many experts over there. He didn't need to guess to know that there was a battle over there, but Ling Xiao hadn't called him over to help, so he could only wait here for the result. Mu En looked at the 2 of them with some astonishment, and then cast a questioning look at Ling Xiao. "Martial uncle, I'll explain later. Help master in to heal first," Ling Xiao said to Mu En after putting Ji Beixin down. Mu En nodded, and under the lead of Cruel Leopard he entered one of the rooms and let Mu Huai heal. Ling Xiao comforted Ji Beixin a few words, then entered Mu Huai's room and took out 2 bottles of 10,000-year stone milk. "Martial uncle, this bottle is for you." Ling Xiao handed one of the bottles to Mu En, then took the other bottle and walked to the side of Mu En who had fainted, and poured the 10,000-year stone milk into his mouth. Mu En was still in a daze as he asked, "What is this?" Ling Xiao replied, 10,000-year stone milk. It can help martial uncle recleance his marrow and meridians. It's actually such a good thing. Mu En cried out in joy. Mu En had lived longer than Ling Xiao, so his knowledge was naturally not too bad. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to have such a good thing, which made him extremely happy. With it, his body could be recleansed and he would be able to walk even further in the future. How could he not be happy? "Martial uncle, take it now lest a long night brings many dreams," Ling Xiao reminded, then sat down cross-legged to help Mu Huai speed up the refining of the 10,000-year stone milk. Mu En was also an impatient person, so he immediately sat down and drank the 10,000-year stone milk. Mu En drank the 10,000-year stone milk, and a pure and vast energy instantly flowed into him. At the same time there was also a chill that flowed through his body. Mu En was already a high-stage king, so he naturally wouldn't be easily frozen by this chill. He immediately calmed his mind and absorbed this pure energy. Half a day later, Mu En walked out of the house with great joy. Ling Xiao and Mu Huai also walked out. Mu Huai's state of being on the verge of death had been swept away, and his essence had become even more refined. Now that Mu En and Mu Huai had been recleansed by the 10,000-year stone milk, they both felt as if they had been reborn. Moreover, the spiritual energy within their bodies had already reached the peak of the king stage. As long as they had a further understanding of spiritual energy, stepping into the Earth Emperor stage was only a matter of time. Xianli, come here. Ling Xiao beckoned to Xianli. Xianli quickly came to Ling Xiao's side and said respectfully, Master. When Xianli called Ling Xiao master, Mu Huai's expression stiffened, and then his gaze fell on Xianli. He sized up this grand disciple of his who was able to catch his disciple's eye. However, when he saw that Xianli was actually an ordinary person who had never cultivated Xian energy, his expression didn't look too good. After all, Xianli was already 16 years old, and he hadn't cultivated at this age. It was obvious that he had passed the best time to build a foundation, and this was what Mu Huai was dissatisfied with. Ling Xiao smiled and introduced, Xianli, this is great master and great martial uncle. Xianli's body trembled slightly, and he immediately bowed to the two elders to greet them. Mu Huai frowned slightly and looked at Ling Xiao. Xiao, where did you get this disciple? He doesn't seem to have cultivated. Ling Xiao smiled and said, Master, Xianli is the precious grand disciple that your disciple went through untold hardships to find for you. Mu Huai said unhappily, What precious disciple, are you trying to anger your master? Master, listen to me, Xianli has a pure wood attribute physique. Ling Xiao immediately explained. What physique is not important? Mu Huai replied uninterestedly, and then his expression changed. You said he has a pure wood attribute physique? Absolutely, he has a pure wood attribute physique, but it turned out that he was born with a useless physique. I was the one who reconstructed and unblocked his meridians. Although he started a little late with his physique, he should still be able to make it, Ling Xiao said. At this time, Mu Huai looked at Xianli with a gentle gaze, and he was extremely satisfied. Good, haha, I didn't expect that in my lifetime I would actually accept a pure wood attribute disciple, and also a pure wood attribute grand disciple. This time Mu Huai's face is also shining, Mu Huai said very happily. Mu En, who was at the side, revealed an envious expression and said, Junior brother, why don't you give this grand disciple to me? I will definitely teach him well. Mu Huai immediately protected Xianli behind him and said, I appreciate senior brother's good intentions, but this child has already taken Xiao as his master, so he is already my grand disciple. How can I just give him up? Mu En also knew that Mu Huai would not give up, so he could only laugh dryly and not say anything more. Ling Xiao said from the side, Martial uncle, he is my master's grand disciple, so naturally he is also your grand disciple. There is no difference. That's right, I like hearing Xiao's words. I am his martial uncle, huh? Mu En said happily. Right, this is. Mu Huai glanced at the savage leopard and carefully asked Ling Xiao. He could not sense the depth of the savage leopard's strength, but the savage leopard gave him a strong sense of oppression just by standing there. Even his master Xiao Songlin could not make him feel this way. He was sure that the strength of the person in front of him was definitely not lower than his master's. Ling Xiao replied, He is one of my followers. Now this disciple is already a 5th grade alchemist. What, you are already a 5th grade alchemist? Mu Huai and Mu En exclaimed at the same time. This was also the first time Xianli had heard Ling Xiao reveal his identity, and his eyes were filled with stars. Yes, so Master Martial Uncle, you don't have to worry about leaving the sect without resources to cultivate. With this disciple's current strength and identity, I dare not say that I can move unhindered across the continent, but it is not difficult to get some good things in this northwest region, Ling Xiao said with a very confident expression. Mu Huai and Mu En naturally believed in Ling Xiao's words. There were less than 5 5th grade alchemists in the northwest, and they could casually refine a few 4th grade or 5th grade medicinal pills that could be auctioned for high grade. With wealth, it would be much more convenient to buy any cultivation resources. Chapter 459. Master Martial Uncle, let's adjust ourselves and leave this place as soon as possible. Ling Xiao looked in the direction of the Purple Heaven sect, his eyes flashing with an undetectable pain. Xingji's goal and wish were no longer there, and he no longer had any reluctance to leave this place. Mu Huai and Mu En both sighed. They were also in a bad mood. They had quite a deep relationship with the Purple Heaven sect. Now that they had to leave just like that, They naturally couldn't bear to part with it. However, it had already become a reality and they could only look on and sigh. At night, Ling Xiao and Ji Beixin began to talk in private. Ling Xiao stood in front of the window and raised his head to look at the vast starry sky. His expression was indescribably lonely. Ji Beixin wrapped her arms around Ling Xiao's waist from behind and buried her face in Ling Xiao's back. She said faintly, "Xiao, I miss you so much." It had been a long time since she had seen Ling Xiao, and she had almost been forcefully captured by him as a maid. This made Ji Beixin's longing for Ling Xiao grow stronger and stronger. Now that she was hugging his strong waist, her heart felt especially at ease. Ling Xiao turned around and caressed Ji Beixin's beautiful hair. Smelling her refreshing body fragrance, he said lightly, "Exen, I missed you too." After saying that, he hugged Ji Beixin tightly in his arms. Ling Xiao admitted that he was a playboy, but the woman he loved the most in his heart was still Yun Mingqi. The position of his wife had always been reserved for her, and Yun Mingqi was the first woman who had made him fall in love at first sight. However, the woman he loved the most had betrayed him. His heart felt as if it had been cut by a knife. Ji Beixin could feel Ling Xiao's strange emotions. As she hugged him, she said gently, "I know you feel bad, but you still have me. In this life I will only recognize you." Ling Xiao took a light breath and expelled the image of Yun Mingqi from his mind. Then he held Ji Beixin's face and said with a smile, "I'm fine. I'm already very satisfied with such a beautiful wife like you." After saying that, he lowered his head and kissed Ji Beixin's jade lips. Their longing was ignited at this moment. The dry firewood and the raging fire burned fiercely. The rippling spring water intertwined with each other. How shy she looked under the night sky. After a while, the two of them fell asleep in each other's arms, satisfied. When they woke up the next day, Ji Beixin's smooth body was on top of Ling Xiao, and she was writhing crazily again. Just like last night, the two of them entered the state of oblivion. The innate yin-wind baleful qi kept circulating in their bodies, and their auras were faintly growing stronger. This was especially true for Ji Beixin. She had unknowingly reached the middle stage spirit master level. If someone was here, their jaw would definitely drop. To think that doing that thing could actually allow one to advance. This world was too crazy. Ling Xiao was not surprised by this because he already knew that this would be the result. With Ling Xiao's current senses, he could already sense that the absolute seal in Ji Beixin's body contained a strong power, and this power was unsealed by his innate yin-wind baleful qi. That energy was also gradually absorbed and used by Ji Beixin. Therefore, it was not surprising that she could reach the middle stage spirit master level in a short period of time. After Ji Beixin was satisfied, her delicate face was like a flower in the early morning, making her look even more beautiful. She shyly buried her head in Ling Xiao's chest and said softly, "Xiao, I don't want to be separated from Grandpa." Ji2 had been injured by Luo Batian and was still recuperating in the wooden flag peak. Ji Beixin and Ji2 had relied on each other since they were young. They had no other relatives, so the one she was most reluctant to part with was naturally Ji2's day. Ling Xiao replied, "Don't worry, I will bring Grandpa Ji with me. No matter where you go, I will follow you. I just want to stay by your side and serve you." Ji Beixin said emotionally, "Don't worry, with such a beautiful wife like you, I can't bear to let you leave either. Otherwise I'll be struck by lightning." Ling Xiao was in a much better mood and joked. Is I really that beautiful?" Ji Beixin asked sweetly in her heart. "Unless you're blind, anyone would think that you're one of the most beautiful women in the world," Ling Xiao said to please Ji Beixin. The two chatted for a while more before walking out of the house. Ling Xiao looked at Exen Li in the courtyard with a bit of astonishment. He found that he was in a horse stance with water in his hand, and his face was covered in sweat. On the other side, Mu Huai and Mu En were staring at him with smiles. "Master, this is?" Ling Xiao asked Mu Huai. Mu Huai smiled and said, "Training is a process of accumulating day and night. Master will first train Lier's body so that he can advance as soon as possible." After hearing this, Ling Xiao was speechless. He had been busy with matters on the road, but he had neglected to teach Exen Li. In his heart he scolded himself for being a failure of a master. Now that his master was here, it would be hard for Exen Li not to cultivate. 3 things appeared in Ling Xiao's hands. As soon as the thing appeared, Mu Huai and Muen's eyes were immediately filled with surprise and joy. "This This is a spirit weapon. Such a strong wood attribute, Mu Huai said as he rubbed his hands. Mu En also swallowed his saliva and said, there's definitely no mistake. Moreover, I feel that it seems to be of a higher grade than Master's green spirit sword. Master Martial Uncle, this is the green dragon moon slaying sword and the heavenly dragon shield. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and then handed the 2 spirit weapons he obtained from the secret realm to the 2 old men. Mu Huai and Mu En took the 2 items and touched them with their hands without hesitation. Both of them were of the wood attribute, so of course they were very interested in wood attribute spirit weapons. Moreover, this kind of spirit weapon above the 7th rank was difficult to find even in the northwest. Now there were 2 of them in front of them. How could they not be excited? Master Martial Uncle, I'll give these 2 spirit weapons to you. As for how to divide them, you can decide, Ling Xiao said very casually. Mu Huai and Mu En looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. They obviously did not expect Ling Xiao to give them these 2 high-grade spirit weapons. It should be known that once these 2 spirit weapons were known, even celestial master powerhouses would fight for them at all costs. However, Ling Xiao was actually so generous to them, which really made them feel satisfied. With such a disciple, what was there to be dissatisfied about? However, Mu Huai and Mu En were not greedy for these 2 spirit treasures. Mu Huai returned the sword and shield to Ling Xiao and said, Shower, you have this kind of heart. Your martial uncle and I are very happy, but they can be used more if they stay by your side. Mu En also agreed, yes, with them by your side, you will be a little more secure when you travel the continent in the future. Your master and I don't need them. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and a warm current surged in his heart. What a good master and martial uncle. If it was someone else, they would not care whether they were their own disciple or not. These were spirit treasures that even celestial masters would fight for. Of course, they would want to take them for themselves, but they returned them to him. Ling Xiao's respect for these 2 old men increased a little, and in his heart he already regarded them as the closest people. Master Martial Uncle, please accept them. You also know that I cultivate the 5 elements at the same time. The wood element is not my main attack attribute, so it is not very useful to me. Besides, I still have spirit weapons, so you don't have to worry about me. Ling Xiao handed the spirit weapons back to them and said, these are the 6 cornerstone spirit treasures that I obtained from the secret realm. They are called the Green Dragon Moon Slaying Sword and the Heavenly Dragon Shield. In addition, they are also equipped with a set of high-grade sword techniques. I will pass the sword techniques to you later, and in the future I will trouble you to help me teach Lier well. Ling Xiao also had a good idea. He himself wanted to continue to become stronger, so he might not have much time to teach Exen Li, so he could only ask these 2 old men. He believed that they would also be very happy to see their disciple diligently cultivate and achieve success early on. In fact, this was just an excuse that Ling Xiao found for himself to be free and unfettered. Understanding Ling Xiao's meaning, Mu Huai and Mu En no longer refused and accepted the 2 spirit treasures. However, Mu Huai first stated, when Lier can take charge of an area in the future, we will pass these 2 spirit weapons to him. It can be considered as our sect's heirloom. Ling Xiao did not care about this. Anyway, it was still early. Maybe in the future he would be able to get better spirit weapons or sacred weapons. At that time he was afraid that they would not feel that these 2 spirit weapons were so precious. Subsequently, Ling Xiao passed the moon beheading art to Mu Huai and Mu En. When the 2 of them felt the terrifying power of the moon beheading art, they were both extremely happy. The moon beheading art was a purple rank Xian skill. No matter where it was, it would cause a reign of terror. After Mu Huai memorized the moon beheading art, he said to Ling Xiao seriously, Shower, in the future when you travel the continent, you must not casually tell such a precious thing to others. Otherwise, I am afraid that it will bring about a fatal disaster. Ling Xiao understood Mu Huai's meaning and nodded obediently. On this side of the earth, the strong were as numerous as the forest. He was not arrogant enough to think that he was invincible in the world. In a situation as a last resort, he would never expose all his trump cards. Mu Huai and Mu En entered the house to comprehend the moon beheading art. Ling Xiao was supervising Exen Li, who was galloping on the horse. When he saw that the wooden buckets in Exen Li's hands were only half full, he frowned and then filled both buckets with water. In this way, Exen Li, who was running on the horse, began to sway. Keep it like this for 4 hours. If water overflows, keep it for another 4 hours, Ling Xiao said with a straight face. Exenli complained in his heart, but he still nodded and replied, "Yes, master." Ling Xiao knew that Exenli's willpower was strong, but he had started too late, so he had to be strict, lest he learn his attributes and become arrogant and lax. "Let me tell you a story," Ling Xiao looked at Exenli and said, then recalled, "In the past there was a boy who cultivated Tenbin and was very outstanding. At the age of 15 he was already at the Mystic Knight level. However, he was seriously injured by someone and his meridians were broken, turning him into a cripple. However, the boy was unwilling to be at the mercy of fate and continued to cultivate every day. However, after 2 years he had been doing useless work. His meridians had been destroyed and he could not cultivate martial arts, and he did not have high-grade medicinal pills. However, his unyielding spirit made him blessed by heaven. At the age of 17 he obtained a chance to cultivate again. In just a few years, not only did he become a middle-stage king stage, he was also an unknown 5th-grade alchemist. Exenli listened carefully to every word of his master, and his inferiority complex gradually became confident. He secretly made up his mind, "One day I can also be as outstanding as that boy. No, I want to be stronger than him." Exenli did not know that the boy was now in front of him. Chapter 460. Before Ling Xiao and the others had even left the Purple Sky City, more than a dozen guests had already arrived. The newcomers were the Purple Sky sect Master Yun Xiong, as well as the Peak Lord Su Jianan Zhao Mingyuan, Wen Haiyan and Nangong Changel. Among these people, G2 was also among them. Ling Xiao was still within the Purple Sky sect's territory, and they did not deliberately hide their auras, so it was naturally much easier for Yun Xiong to find them. Seeing the newcomers, Ling Xiao's expression immediately turned cold. Savage Leopard felt Ling Xiao's displeasure and immediately blocked Yun Xiong and the others. "Whoever dares to take half a step forward will die." Savage Leopard's voice was like the voice of a malicious ghost from the 9 Serenities, causing the people of the Purple Sky sect to feel a sense of fear. A terrifying killing intent seemed to have turned into a sharp blade on their necks, causing them to not dare to take half a step forward. A common thought emerged in their minds: this person is definitely a monarch stage expert and not an ordinary Earth Emperor. They had seen all kinds of terrifying battle cards of Ling Xiao, and they all felt that it might have been the full display of Ling Xiao's strength. But now in this small courtyard, there was actually an Earth Emperor, which made them feel even more awe towards Ling Xiao. That's right, it was awe towards Ling Xiao. Ever since Ling Xiao's identity as a 4th-grade alchemist was announced, they had treated Ling Xiao as a person of such status. Previously, Ling Xiao's battle in the Purple Sky sect had caused them to completely change their view of Ling Xiao. He had actually killed everyone from the Heavy Sword sect, including 2 Earth Emperors and a terrifying mid-stage 6th-grade spirit beast, all by himself. These scenes were still clearly remembered in their hearts. Ling Xiao's ability had already surpassed all of them, surpassed all of the people of the Purple Sky sect. Ling Xiao had reached such a terrifying level at such a young age. How could they not revere Ling Xiao? Elder Ling G2, who was behind the crowd, walked out. His expression was rather pale, and it seemed that he had been heavily injured and had yet to recover. "You ignored my words. Die." Savage Leopard's cold voice rang out. He was about to attack. "Wait." Ling Xiao stopped him in time and then took 2 steps forward. "Grandpaji, you're here. I wanted to go look for you today, but I didn't expect you to come first. You can leave with us." When the people of the Purple Sky sect heard Ling Xiao's words, they all revealed complicated expressions. G2 was very happy with Ling Xiao's respect. He asked, "Is Exener all right?" Coincidentally, Ji Beixin heard her grandfather's words and rushed out of the house. "Grandpa, I'm fine." "All right, as long as you're fine," G2 said excitedly as he grabbed Ji Beixin's hand. He had thought that his granddaughter would definitely be humiliated. He didn't expect that Ling Xiao would always appear at the critical moment to save her. It seemed that his granddaughter was destined to be Ling Xiao's woman. At this time, Mu Huai and Mu En also walked out of the house. However, the expressions of the 2 of them were slightly unnatural. When Yun Xiong saw Mu Huai and Mu En, he immediately called out, "Senior brother Mu, can we talk?" Before Mu Huai and Mu En could say anything, Ling Xiao answered for them, My master and martial uncle have nothing to talk about with you. You can leave. Ling Xiao knew his master and martial uncle's feelings for the sect. Now that Yun Xiong had condescended to persuade them, maybe they would return to the sect. Ling Xiao didn't want them to return to that heartless sect. He was already extremely disappointed with that place. The people of the Heavy Sword sect killed Luo Meiying in the secret realm, which was a thorn in Ling Xiao's heart. He and the Heavy Sword sect were sworn enemies, not to mention that he was trapped in the secret realm because of the Heavy Sword sect. He believed that everyone in the sect knew about this. However, these sect elders were willing to let go of their hatred and respect for the sake of their so-called benefits. This was something that Ling Xiao couldn't tolerate. A person's life was gone, but he couldn't lose face, dignity, or hatred. This was Ling Xiao's principle of doing things. If it was an ordinary person or an ordinary disciple scolding Yun Xiong like this, the people of the Purple Sky sect would definitely make him bleed on the spot. Unfortunately, this person was Ling Xiao. They couldn't move and they didn't dare to move. They could only swallow their anger in their hearts. Yun Xiong frowned slightly and said, "Elder Ling, I know you are angry. You can vent this anger on me, but you can't vent all of your responsibility on the sect. For the lives of thousands of people in the sect, I am now asking you to return to the sect in the name of the sect master. There's no need to say any more. Don't you want to marry the Heavy Sword sect? There are so many people in the Heavy Sword sect, so it's easy to find another marriage partner. If they want to take revenge, you can just tell them that I did it." "I, Ling Xiao, have never been a person who is afraid of things," Ling Xiao said very firmly. Ling Xiao's words were so heartless that the expressions of the Purple Sky sect's elders became even more unsightly. At this time, when Haiyan of the Jade Spring Pavilion walked out and said, "Elder Ling, why are you so heartless? No matter what, you are still a part of the Purple Sky sect. There's no need to say anything more, Elder Wen. There's no room for discussion. I will definitely make the Heavy Sword sect pay in blood for killing Mei Ying." Ling Xiao's body was emitting a dense killing intent. The scene of Luo Meiying's death was something Ling Xiao would never be able to forget for the rest of his life. Although the main culprit Luo Baxing had died by his hands, that didn't mean the hatred was over. He swore to uproot the Heavy Sword sect to vent his hatred. "Elder Ling, you can't be so ungrateful. If it wasn't for the sect, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to participate in the sect oath assembly, and you wouldn't have obtained such a shocking opportunity. Now that you've caused such a disaster, you can't just leave like that." The one who spoke was Su Jianan of Golden Tree Peak. Previously, he was the one who was most supportive of the marriage because he didn't want Yun Mingqi to remain in the Purple Sky sect. Everyone knew that his son Su Yi liked Yun Mingqi, but Yun Mingqi didn't like his son. Later on, his son had fought with Ling Xiao over Yun Mingqi, and had been heavily injured by Ling Xiao. Although he wasn't angry at his son for not living up to expectations, he was still dissatisfied with Yun Mingqi and Ling Xiao. Ever since his son had been defeated, he had become dispirited, and his strength hadn't improved in the slightest in half a year. That was why he strongly supported Yun Mingqi marrying into the Heavy Sword sect. First, it would benefit the sect, and second, it might be able to untie the knot in his son's heart. Now that Ling Xiao had killed everyone from the Heavy Sword sect, and Ling Xiao was about to leave, the Heavy Sword sect would definitely massacre the Purple Sky sect. Everyone was anxious, and Su Jianan was no exception. He had always felt that the reason Ling Xiao's strength could advance so quickly, and he also had that powerful blue flood dragon, was because he had obtained it in the secret territory. Otherwise, how could he have obtained such a powerful strength? In his heart, a strong jealousy arose. He felt that all of Ling Xiao's achievements should have belonged to his son. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's appearance, his son would have become the leader of the Purple Sky sect's elites, and lead the younger generation to the secret territory. That heavenly opportunity would have definitely fallen on his son, and as a father he would have felt proud and arrogant. Therefore he didn't have the slightest favorable impression of Ling Xiao, and only felt a strong sense of dissatisfaction. Ling Xiao cast a sharp gaze at Su Jianan and faintly said, "That's right, the sect gave me the opportunity to go to the secret territory, but without me the disciples of the other peaks would have already died. If you can't, you can ask them. In other words, I'm trapped in the secret territory, unable to come out. Don't you think this is a heavenly opportunity? Moreover, do you think that all of my strength came from the secret territory? How laughable." Speaking up to here, he disdainfully looked at Zhou Xian and then continued, I originally returned to the sect with a happy heart, but you wanted to marry our enemy and even watched as my master was killed by them. You still have the face to question me if it wasn't for our past friendship, humph humph. Ling Xiao was very angry at Zhou Xian's words. What ungrateful. Fuck, this was simply taking off his pants to fart. In the face of an enemy, he became servile and even wanted to send his woman. Now he was talking about benevolence, righteousness and morality. Wasn't he just looking for trouble? Zhou Xian didn't expect Ling Xiao to reprimand him like this, and moreover in front of so many people. This was simply a slap to his face and it made him feel uncomfortable. You. Zhou Xian clenched his fists and wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Yun Xiong. Yun Xiong didn't want to be entangled any longer, so he called out to Mu Huai and Mu En. He knew that Ling Xiao was young and impetuous, and it would be difficult for him to listen to their advice, so he could only start with Mu Huai and Mu En. This time before Ling Xiao could speak, Mu Huai sighed and replied, Xiao, or I'll go talk to them. Ling Xiao hesitated for a moment but did not refuse. However, he still couldn't help but remind, Master, don't be bewitched by them. Stinking brat, I know what I'm doing. Mu Huai lightly patted the back of Ling Xiao's head. Seeing his disciple being so strong, he was very happy in his heart. At this moment he was above the peaks of the sect. Sect master, elders, please come inside, Mu Huai said to Yun Xiong and the others. When the people of the Purple Sky sect heard Mu Huai's way of addressing them, they all felt bitter in their hearts. They had always been brothers who were as close as brothers. But now there was a thick layer of estrangement, as if they had met a stranger. The friendship from before no longer existed. Savage Leopard stepped aside, allowing the people of the Purple Sky sect to enter the hall in the courtyard. Ling Xiao was too lazy to pay attention to them. He sat on a stone bench outside the courtyard, his face full of displeasure. At this time Ji2 and Ji Beixing walked over. Ling Xiao stood up again, took out a 4th-grade healing pill and handed it over. Grandpa Ji, take it. Of course Ji2 would not refuse and immediately took it. Xiao, do you really want to leave the sect? Ji2 asked Ling Xiao as an elder. Ling Xiao nodded firmly. That's right, it's better not to leave this kind of sect. Ji2 sighed. I won't persuade you, I just hope that you can take good care of Exa. I've been in the sect for almost 100 years, so I won't run around with you young people. Chapter 461. Ji2 was born and raised in Purple Heaven City. He joined Purple Heaven sect at the age of 21. It had been decades. He had been the city lord of Purple Heaven City for nearly 20 years. He had a strong sense of belonging to Purple Heaven sect. This was his hometown. He could not bear to leave here when his hometown was in danger. He and Ling Xiao said that completely from the bottom of their hearts, not to let Ling Xiao and Ji Beixing stay. Ji Beixing was his granddaughter. Even if he died, he would never let his granddaughter be hurt. He knew that only Ling Xiao could protect his granddaughter and live a safe life. He had already lost his son, so he naturally did not want to see anything happen to his granddaughter. Grandpa, come with us, I will serve you well for the rest of my life, Ji Beixing said before Ling Xiao could speak. Previously, when she was disabled for 17 years, it was her grandfather who brought her up. Ji2 was her closest person, so how could she be willing to part with him? Silly child, a girl will get married one day. In the future, follow Xiao, or cultivate well, become stronger as soon as possible, and have the ability to protect yourself. You don't need Xiao to worry about you. Ji2 patted the back of Ji Beixing's hand kindly and said, Grandpa Ji, don't worry. With me here, no one can hurt Exa, Ling Xiao promised solemnly. He knew that it was useless to persuade Ji2 stay. He could more or less feel the old man's thoughts. At the same time, he also realized that it might not be the right time for him to leave. Although he left Purple Heaven sect, there were still some people he cared about, such as Bing Ruoshui, Yu Lai Yen Hua Xiaoge. Ling Xiao decided to ask them if they were willing to leave with him before he left. If they were willing, it would be best. If they were unwilling, he would naturally not force them. No matter what they chose, Ling Xiao would never let anyone hurt them. In the house, all the elders of Purple Heaven sect went in together. If the martial artists in Purple Heaven City saw this situation, they would be shocked. How could the higher-ups of Purple Heaven sect all live in such a simple house? Senior brothers, is there really no way to turn this around? Yun Xiong asked Mu Huai and Mu En. He did not put on the airs of a sect master. It could be seen that he had put down his pride and sincerely wanted them to return. As long as Mu Huai and Mu En didn't leave the sect, everything would be easy. Mu Huai and Mu En kept saying that they wanted to leave the Purple Heaven sect, but when they were really faced with a choice, it was difficult for them to speak. Previously they couldn't take it lying down because of Ling Zhao's matter. Moreover, Yun Xiong and the others insisted on a marriage alliance with the Chongjian sect, which made them disappointed in the sect. Even so, they had been in the sect for more than 100 years, and it was hard for them to cut off their relationship. Zhao Mingyuan of Red Flame Mountain advised, "Two senior brothers, now that the sovereign has lowered himself to invite you, I think you should just come back. Could it be that you are willing to part with us old fellows? Are you willing to abandon those kids from Wooden Flag Peak?" When Haiyan of the Blue Spring Pavilion also said, "Yes, senior brothers, don't you care about your junior sister? I remember that you guys doted on me the most back then." When Haiyan was also playing the emotional card. She wasn't showing off, but she also had a deep brotherly relationship with Mu Huai and Mu En. Mu Huai glanced at Wen Haiyan and sighed heavily. "I also don't want to leave the sect, it's just that senior brother and I are too disappointed. If Xiao didn't come back in time this time, I'm afraid I would have gone to see the King of Hell, and Exena would have been ruined by Luo Batian. What's the point of me going back?" Yun Xiong heard Mu Huai's soft tone and felt that there was hope in his heart. He immediately said with more strength, "This is all my fault, I am the sinner of the sect. As long as senior brother Mu is willing to return to the sect, I am willing to withdraw from the position of sovereign." "Sovereign, you can't." At this time, the elder behind Yun Xiong immediately said anxiously, "Sect master, why do you have to be like this? Even without us, the sect won't have any problems. In any case, it was Xiao who killed them. You can just explain this matter to them. If we return to the sect, it will cause the sect to be exterminated. You have to think about it carefully," said Mu Enyo unhappily. His words were tactful, but everyone could tell that he still had a lot of anger in his heart. However, what Mu En said was the truth. Now that they had returned to the sect, they would be sitting on the fact that they were enemies with the Heavy Sword sect. Could their Purple Sky sect defend the Heavy Sword sect? For a moment, the elders of the Purple Sky sect hesitated again. On the other hand, when Haiyan was decisive and said, "Even if we tell the Heavy Sword sect the truth, they may not be willing to believe it. It is better for us to advance and retreat together with Ling Xiao so we can still have a chance to protect the sect." The others thought about it and also felt that what Wen Haiyan said made sense. Zhao Mingyuan was the first to agree. "Junior sister Wen is right. This time, no matter who is right or wrong, we can't reconcile with the Heavy Sword sect. It is better to break the cauldrons and sink the boats." The others also echoed in agreement. In the end, Yun Xiong said, "That's right. This time all of us will advance and retreat together. Even if we die, we will not let the Heavy Sword sect have an easy time, so the two senior brothers do not need to worry that we will compromise with the Heavy Sword sect again." After Yun Xiong made his stance, Mu Huai and Mu En both fell into deep thought, and the others revealed a slightly perturbed expression. In fact, whether the two of them returned to the sect or not was secondary. The main thing was that after the two of them returned, Ling Xiao would naturally belong to their Purple Sky sect. Then Ling Xiao would naturally protect the lives of thousands of people in the Purple Sky sect. They all knew that only Ling Xiao and the Blue Dragon could suppress the Heavy Sword sect, so that they would not dare to act recklessly. This was the real reason why they came to ask Mu Huai and Mu En to return to the sect. After a long time, Mu Huai let out a light breath and said, "We can return to the sect." At this point, everyone let out a sigh of relief. "However, I have a condition," Mu Huai said. "What condition?" "As long as the sect can do it, we will do it. Even if you want to sit in our sect, I can give up my position," Yun Xiong said very straightforwardly. Mu Huai waved his hand and said, "Sect master is too serious, please listen to me first." He paused for a moment and then said, "My condition is that Ling Xiao no longer belongs to the Purple Sky sect. If you can agree to this, I will return with senior brother." After hearing Mu Huai's words, everyone's expression changed. Su Jianan said from the side, "Do you two not have any feelings for the sect? If Ling Xiao does not return, how can we fight against the Heavy Sword sect? Do you want the sect to be destroyed? Are you willing to be the sinner of the sect?" Before Mu Huai could speak, Mu En met Su Jianan's eyes and said, "Senior brother Su, you are wrong. We are willing to return to the sect and fight with everyone. Even if we die, we are not afraid. But whether Xiao Heir returns or not is his business. Is our return not important at all? You only care about Xiao Heir's strength." Mu En could understand Mu Huai's thoughts. He simply wanted Ling Xiao to leave as soon as possible. After all, the true strength of the heavy sword sect was not something that Ling Xiao could handle alone. As a master, which disciple did not want their disciple to live well? This was Mu Huai's painstaking effort as a master. If Ling Xiao does not return to the sect, all of us will die. Have you considered the consequences? Su Jianan was still angry. You reap what you sow. Don't push all the responsibility on Xiao Heir. He does not need to die. Mu En and Su Jianan took the blame. Enough, stop arguing. Yun Xiong shouted. He then waved his hand at the people behind him and said, "You all leave. I want to talk to senior brother Mu alone." As soon as Yun Xiong finished speaking, everyone left the room. Mu Huai glanced at Mu En. Mu En hesitated for a moment but still walked out of the room. "Senior brother, I beg you this time. Without Ling Xiao, the sect will definitely be destroyed. For the sake of the lives of thousands of disciples, please let him stay," Yun Xiong said emotionally. At the same time, he wanted to kneel down to Mu Huai. He was able to put down all his face because he knew that this time, the heavy sword sect would definitely not rest until one of them was dead. If Ling Xiao did not hold the fort as he said, the Purple Sky sect would be destroyed in a day. Then he, the sect master, would be the real sinner. Mu Huai's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. He supported Yun Xiong and said with some pity in his old eyes, "Sect master, you are flattering me. But you should know that even if Xiao Heir agrees to return to the sect with me, he will definitely not stay here. You should know this the best. He is a stubborn child." Yun Xiong replied, "Yes, he is a stubborn child. Isn't Mengqi the same?" Mu Huai heard this and frowned slightly. Of course, Yun Xiong saw it and immediately sighed. "Maybe you don't know, but Yun Meng agreed to marry Luo Batian in order to avenge Ling Xiao." "What?" Mu Huai showed a shocked and puzzled expression. No one knows a daughter better than her father. After Mengqi returned from the Thousand Beast City, she went into seclusion and quickly broke through to the middle stage king stage. She trained so hard because she wanted to avenge Ling Xiao as soon as possible. At the same time, she also hoped to rescue Ling Xiao from the secret realm. But cultivation is not a day's work. If she wants to have the strength to eradicate the heavy sword sect, she doesn't know how long it will take. So when the heavy sword sect came to propose marriage, she agreed without thinking. Her purpose was to marry into the heavy sword sect, and then use her position as the future sect master's wife to find a way to destroy the heavy sword sect, Yun Xiong explained. Mu Huai didn't expect Yun Mengqi to have such difficulties, and the decision in his heart was a little shaken. However, he was still puzzled and asked, "Then why didn't she make it clear earlier?" "She's very stubborn. She was afraid that if she said it out loud, no one would agree with her, so she could only endure it. When Ling Xiao came back, she went to his side. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao didn't listen to her explanation. When you left, she fainted. Even now, she still hasn't woken up. Poor child." Yun Xiong sighed, his expression indescribably lonely. After listening to Yun Xiong's explanation, Mu Huai fell into a dilemma. Whether to let Ling Xiao return to the sect or not, it was really difficult for him to make a decision. At this time, outside the courtyard, another unexpected person came. After seeing this person, Ling Xiao was greatly surprised. Chapter 462. A skinny young man wearing an alchemist's robe appeared in front of the courtyard Ling Xiao had bought. This young man wasn't tall and his appearance couldn't be considered handsome, but he had a delicate and pretty appearance. His bashful appearance made him look simple and honest. He sneakily looked around Ling Xiao's courtyard. When he saw the elders of the Purple Sky sect, he shrunk his head and wanted to slip away. "Xiaogui, why are you here?" Nangong Changle immediately saw his disciple who wanted to slip away. The person who had come was the disciple of Medicine Peak Hua Xiaogui, who was also Nangong Changle's adopted grandson. After not seeing him for half a year, Hua Xiaogui was already a low-rank spirit master. However, his steps weren't very solid, which showed that his strength was accumulated through the accumulation of medicinal pills. If he were to truly fight against other low-rank spirit masters, he would probably not be their match. Hua Xiaogui could only brace himself and walk out. He greeted Nangong Changle and the elders, then scratched his head and said with a silly smile, I'm here to look for boss. Looking for boss? Everyone looked at Hua Xiaogui in confusion. They didn't understand who the boss Hua Xiaogui was talking about was. On the other hand, Nangong Changle had already vaguely guessed who it was. Little turtle. Ling Xiao turned his head and saw Hua Xiaogui. He immediately cried out in surprise. Boss. Hua Xiaogui replied excitedly when he saw Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao instantly arrived in front of Hua Xiaogui, and Hua Xiaogui took the initiative to pounce towards Ling Xiao. The two of them gave each other a fierce bear hug. You bastard scram. This young master isn't interested in men. Ling Xiao pushed Hua Xiaogui away and scolded him before lightly punching him in the chest. Hee boss, you know that I don't like men either, Hua Xiaogui replied with a hollow laugh. His heart felt warm as he sighed to himself. Boss is still the same boss, he hasn't changed at all. He had originally thought that Ling Xiao would distance himself from him due to the difference in strength, and that he wouldn't even recognize him as a little brother. Now it seemed that he had thought too much. The elders of the Purple Sky sect all looked at Nangong Changle, only to see him turn his face away. Ling Xiao used to be a disciple of Medicine Peak, so they did not find it strange that he was familiar with Hua Xiaogui. They felt that Nangong Changle should have received half of the glory from such an outstanding disciple. However, because of his wrong decision, he had to hand over this disciple to someone else. They felt pity for him. All right, now that you're a cleric master, have you reached level 3? Ling Xiao asked after recovering. At this point, Hua Xiaogui revealed an awkward expression and said, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more? Ling Xiao's expression became a little ugly and he continued to scold. You pighead, you still dare to say that you're a genius alchemist? How long has it been and you haven't even reached level 3? In the future, don't tell others that I'm your boss, I can't afford to lose this face. Of course, when he and Hua Xiaogui first came to the Purple Sky sect, when he bought this courtyard, Hua Xiaogui had also come and stayed here for a few days. At that time he didn't know that Ling Xiao was already a level 3 alchemist, and often boasted in front of Ling Xiao about how good he was at concocting tenbin. Now when Ling Xiao scolded him, Hua Xiaogui did not feel uncomfortable at all. Instead he calmly accepted it and said, I also know that I'm useless. It's already been 3 years and I'm still unable to become a level 3 alchemist. I'm afraid that little Snow. Back then, when he had just entered the Purple Sky sect, he had already taken a fancy to Wu Xixue, who was now in the Jade Spring Pavilion. Wu Xixue had told Hua Xiaogui that if he could reach level 3 within 3 years, she would agree to go out with him. At that time he had confidently promised that he would definitely become a level 3 alchemist within 3 years. Now that the 3-year period was almost up, he was still only a level 2 alchemist. His heart was filled with anxiety and sorrow. He now finally understood why it was so difficult for every alchemist to advance. It was because in refining medicine, other than perseverance, one also needed to rely on tenbin and comprehension. He had always felt that his tenbin was not bad, but every time he refined a level 3 pill, he would always be unable to condense it into a pill at the critical moment. This made him extremely depressed. When Nangong Changle, who was at the side, heard Ling Ji scolding Hua Xiaogui like that, his old face also felt hot to the point of pain. Wasn't Ling Xiao secretly scolding him for being incompetent in teaching? He cursed in his heart. Do you think that alchemists are as easy to advance as martial artists? Otherwise, I would have long since become a level 5 alchemist. Nangong Changle had been a rank 4 alchemist for a long time, but he had been stuck at this rank 4 realm for many years. How could he not want to advance? However, he knew that an alchemist was different from a martial artist's cultivation. Every time an alchemist advanced to the next rank, he would have a chance only after going through a lot of tempering. Ling Xiao lightly patted his forehead and said, Brat, can you give yourself a little more confidence? I'm already at the level 5 realm now. No, I have to help you out so that you won't embarrass me in the future. Boss, you're a level 5 alchemist? Hua Xiaogui cried out in shock, his eyes already filled with worship. At this time the surrounding elders of the Purple Heaven sect all gathered their gazes over, their eyes filled with shock. Ling Xiao was so happy to see Hua Xiaogui that he forgot that there were other people here. However, he had already said it out loud, so he did not plan to hide it. In any case, he was also a guy who liked to show off. Don't you think about who your boss is? A mere level 5 alchemist is nothing. In the future I will become a godly alchemist. Ling Xiao said rather carelessly. Boss. My dear boss, quickly teach me how to advance so quickly. Hua Xiaogui almost threw himself onto Ling Xiao's body and begged. Ever since he knew Ling Xiao, no matter if it was picking up girls, cultivating martial arts or refining pills, he had always worshipped him like a river. Now that he heard Ling Xiao personally confirm that he was already a level 5 alchemist, he did not doubt that he was bragging at all. Ling Xiao laughed and said, Don't worry, we are brothers. I can't just watch you be a bachelor for the rest of your life. I will raise your alchemist rank right now, follow me. Ling Xiao said as he walked towards the small hill in the backyard. Hua Xiaogui followed him while trembling. For a moment, all the elders of the Purple Sky sect looked at Hua Xiaogui with envious eyes. They were all thinking that to be able to have such a brother, it was truly a blessing that they had cultivated for several lifetimes. Su Jianan, who was at the side, asked Nangong Changle, Senior brother Nangong, can someone help you raise the rank of an alchemist? Nangong Changle shook his head and said, Perhaps he wants to impart some experience to Xiaogui. As for whether or not he can comprehend it, it will depend on Xiaogui's ability. He looked at Ling Xiao's departing figure, and his heart was filled with an indescribable bitterness and self-deprecation. I didn't expect that not only did Elder Ling's strength increase, but his alchemy equipment has also reached the level 5 realm. In our northwest it seems that only the 3 great sects have level 5 alchemists. Zhao Mingyuan sighed. When Haiyan also said, That's right, Elder Ling's talent is outstanding. I'm afraid that in the northwest, whether it is the younger generation or the older generation, they have all been thrown to the back of his head. If he can still return to the sect in less than 100 years, we will definitely have the qualifications to become a level 7 sect. The others all agreed with what they said. If a sect had a level 5 alchemist overseeing it, it would be difficult for it not to grow stronger. When they thought of this, they all regretted their decision to support the marriage. After arriving at the small hill behind the courtyard, Ling Xiao found an excellent location and waited for Hua Xiaogui to walk over. Then he laid down a restriction in the surroundings to prevent others from disturbing him. Boss, when we first entered the sect together, you are already a high and mighty king. It really makes me envious. Hua Xiaogui sighed as she looked at the restriction that Ling Xiao had casually laid down. What's there to be envious about? Once you reach the king level, you will discover that there are many earthly sovereigns above you. You will feel that the king level is only SOSO. Once you reach the earthly sovereign level, you will know that there are Empyreans above the earthly sovereign level. You will no longer feel that earthly sovereigns are the strongest, so we must continue to work hard. There is no limit to martial arts, Ling Xiao replied. Hua Xiaogui spread out his hands and said, I will be satisfied if I can reach the king level and become a level 4 alchemist for the rest of my life. Earthly sovereign and Empyrean have nothing to do with me. Hua Xiaogui knew that his cultivation in Tenbin was very ordinary, so he said this with a bit of self-mockery. Ling Xiao glared at him and said, You ungrateful fellow, if you want to reach the king level I can help you right now. But don't even think about improving in this lifetime. Boss, can you really help me reach the king level now? Hua Xiaogui excitedly grabbed Ling Xiao's hand and asked. That's right. I'll give you 2 choices now. The first choice is that I can help you reach the king level in a short period of time, but you'll be stuck at the king level for the rest of your life. The second choice is that you continue to cultivate steadily and steadily. There will come a day when I can help you reach the Earth Sovereign level or even the Empyrean level. Think about it carefully, said Ling Xiao very seriously. With his current alchemy ability and the many high-grade spirit herbs he had collected, if Hua Xiaogui really wanted to immediately reach the king level, he would definitely be able to do it. However, he didn't want Hua Xiaogui to make the first choice, because he could be sure that he would go further in the future, and if Hua Xiaogui followed him he would naturally not be too bad. When his alchemy level increased, even if he used medicinal pills to smash Hua Xiaogui, he would still be able to make Hua Xiaogui reach the earthly sovereign level or even the Empyrean level. He still had this bit of confidence. Hua Xiaogui listened to Ling Xiao's words and calmed his emotions, falling into deep thought. Ling Xiao ignored him and continued to set up a few more restrictions before he was done. After a long while, Hua Xiaogui's eyes lit up and he said, "Since boss has said so, then I will choose the second option. I believe that boss will definitely not be willing to see me be worse than others." Ling Xiao patted Hua Xiaogui's shoulder and said, "That's right. We have to look a little further and you will find that this sky is actually very big. As long as we dare to think and dare to break through, there will be a day when we will break free and reach a peak that others can't even imagine." "Yes, I will listen to boss." Hua Xiaogui nodded firmly. Chapter 463. "Okay, tell me how to refine a third-grade pill. I'll see what the problem is," Ling Xiao said, cutting to the chase. Therefore Hua Xiaogui told him about the process of refining a third-grade medicinal pill. Then Ling Xiao communicated with Hua Xiaogui based on his own experience. After Ling Xiao's clear explanation, Hua Xiaogui felt that his knowledge of alchemy was indeed too poor. Now, after Ling Xiao's explanation, he was finally enlightened. He was now confident that if he were to refine a third-grade pill at this time, he would be able to succeed quickly. "These are just some of my experiences in alchemy. Also, here's a high-rank alchemist's notebook. You can take it for reference," said Ling Xiao as he tossed a scroll to Hua Xiaogui. This scroll was found in the space ring of Danshan Dao. Now that he had the alchemy secret art, he naturally didn't need this scroll, so it was suitable for Hua Xiaogui. Hua Xiaogui took the scroll and couldn't wait to open it. He knew that what his boss gave him was definitely something good. Hua Xiaogui had just turned to the first page when his expression became excited, and then he couldn't wait to turn to the next page. His eyes glowed as if he had seen a naked beauty, making him unable to move his eyes away. "Okay, put it away first. Boss has other things to give you." Ling Xiao looked at Hua Xiaogui's fascinated appearance and said very casually. Hua Xiaogui's strength was not very good and he looked very weak, but he was a good friend. When he first entered Purple Sky City, Ling Xiao had a conflict with a young master of the Lao family, but Hua Xiaogui still stood by his side. Although he couldn't help, Ling Xiao already regarded him as a good friend and a friendly brother. Ling Xiao's principle was that if others were good to him, then he would only treat them better. He would never think that the other party was not worthy of being his friend or brother because of the gap between the two. Such a phrase would never appear in Ling Xiao's dictionary. "Boss, what other good things do you have? Hurry up and take them out." Hua Xiaogui didn't stand on ceremony with Ling Xiao. After putting away the scroll, she rubbed her hands together, her eyes shining. Ling Xiao chuckled and a cauldron appeared on the ground. This medicinal cauldron had bursts of intense reddish-brown flames circulating around it, emitting bursts of spiritual qi. At the same time, there was also a strong smell of medicinal herbs. With just a glance, one could tell that this was not an ordinary item. Upon seeing this medicine cauldron, Hua Xiaogui's mouth gaped wide open, speechless. Ling Xiao was just about to say something when he saw Hua Xiaogui pounce towards the cauldron. Who knew that just as he pounced over, he would be sent flying by the powerful aura emitted by the medicinal cauldron. Fortunately, Ling Xiao had set up a restriction within a radius of several meters. Otherwise, Hua Xiaogui would have been sent flying far away. "Hey, I say, what the hell are you doing?" Ling Xiao said with a smile. Boss, I want this cauldron. Even if you want me to be your follower for the rest of my life, I'm willing." Hua Xiaogui crawled up from the ground and said very seriously. Hua Xiaogui's dedication to alchemy was even crazier than Ling Xiao's. Even if his horizons weren't as high as Ling Xiao's, his knowledge of alchemy was not one bit inferior to Ling Xiao's. He could feel the extraordinariness of this medicinal cauldron at a glance. As an alchemist, other than having the most powerful flames, a good medicinal cauldron was also what they wanted the most. These two things practically had a fatal temptation to any alchemist. Hua Xiaogui was naturally no exception. One had to know that every high-level medicinal cauldron was extremely rare. Teach a follower like you who has neither strength nor character, what would Big Brother want you for? You'd better be my little brother obediently. Big Brother won't mistreat you. Oh, this medicinal cauldron is a spirit artifact. Now it belongs to you. Drip a drop of blood with it first, Ling Xiao said very casually. This medicinal cauldron was similarly an item of the pill dust path. It was called the 5-Direction Medicinal Cauldron, a Tier 6 spirit artifact. This kind of medicinal cauldron that reached the spirit artifact grade There probably wouldn't be more than 3 in the northwest or the southern domain. Even if those 4th and 5th tier alchemists saw this medicinal cauldron, they would crazily fight over it. But Ling Xiao had casually given it to Hua Xiaogui without even batting an eyelid. It could be seen that he viewed Hua Xiaogui like a real brother. But then again, he already had the heaven cauldron. This kind of spirit artifact cauldron, he naturally didn't need it. Boss, are you really giving it to me? Forget it. Boss, you're more suited to it than me. I'll just leave it for you, said Hua Xiaogui with a bit of worry. He really did want this medicinal cauldron, but then he thought about how Ling Xiao's alchemy level was higher than his. Perhaps this medicinal cauldron was more suited to Ling Xiao, and so he could only restrain his desire. If I tell you to take it, then take it. This kind of low-level medicinal cauldron isn't something your boss can use, said Ling Xiao disdainfully. Hua Xiaogui very seriously looked at Ling Xiao and asked, Boss, I know you're good to me, but this is a spirit artifact medicinal cauldron. Even Master doesn't have such a good medicinal cauldron. What are you blabbering about? Do you want it or not? If you don't, then I'll give it to someone else, impatiently interrupted Ling Xiao. Hua Xiaogui hastily said, You want it? Why not? He knew that perhaps Ling Xiao really didn't put this medicinal cauldron in his eyes, and was immediately overjoyed. He hastily responded, bit his finger and dripped his blood onto the medicinal cauldron. After the medicinal cauldron came into contact with Hua Xiaogui's blood, it once again blossomed into a ball of flame. Finally, the flame completely shrank back into the medicinal cauldron, and only the surface of the cauldron was still suffused with a faint halo. Hua Xiaogui didn't hesitate to grab it in his hand and caress it incessantly, as if he was caressing the tender hand of his lover. All right, put it away first. I still have something to give you, repeated Ling Xiao. Hua Xiaogui hastily waved his hand and said, Forget it, boss. You've already given me such a precious thing. I'm already very satisfied. I can't accept anything else from you. Are you sure you don't want it? Asked Ling Xiao. Although Ling Xiao looked like he didn't care, Hua Xiaogui could still guess that the thing Ling Xiao gave him shouldn't be any worse than the previous 2. He immediately revealed a dry smile and said, How about we take a look first? Forget it. Since you're so reluctant, I'll just leave it for someone else. Ling Xiao said as he spread out his hands. Don't I want it? I want it, okay? Hua Xiaogui hastily said, thinking, it's a waste not to take something from boss. It'll save Ping Yi the trouble of letting someone else go. Forget it. Do you think it's easy for me to give something to someone else? Ling Xiao stood up and pretended to leave. Hua Xiaogui didn't care about anything else. He immediately threw himself onto Ling Xiao's body and begged, Boss? My new boss, even if the thing you give me is trash, I'll treat it like a treasure, okay? First he gave her the alchemy notes and then he gave her the spiritual artifact medicinal cauldron. These 2 things were the dreams of alchemists. To be able to get these 2 things, Hua Xiaogui was already very satisfied. However, Ling Xiao still had something to give her. Hua Xiaogui's heart was already in a mess. He thought, in this life, boss is my blood brother. Whether he wants me to climb a mountain of swords or a sea of fire, I won't hesitate. *CK let go. I hate zero contact with men. If you don't let go, I'll take back the thing I gave you. Ling Xiao said angrily, then said, Will the thing I gave you be trash? You really don't know what's good for you. Hua Xiaogui laughed dryly and said, Boss, don't be angry. I was just making an analogy. The things boss gave me are all treasures. How can it be trash? Ling Xiao glared at him and then said seriously, The thing I'm going to give you next and the 2 things just now must not be seen by others. Even if it's the people closest to you, try not to let them know. Only when your strength has reached the Earth Emperor stage or even higher can you take it out. Do you understand? Hua Xiaogui saw that Ling Xiao was listening attentively and immediately nodded his head in agreement. He also understood the stakes. If it was light, his meridians would be damaged and his strength would regress. If it was heavy, he would immediately go berserk and finally die on the spot. Fortunately, Ling Xiao was there to protect him. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know what was going on. This was also why Ling Xiao was so angry. It wasn't that he didn't want Hua Xiaogui to reach the king level, but now was not the time. He didn't want to give the dark brown flame to Hua Xiaogui and instead harm his life. Looking at Hua Xiaogui's innocent look, Ling Xiao couldn't be bothered to be angry anymore. He changed the topic and said, "What I should give you is more or less enough. Now refine a grade 3 spirit increasing pill for me to see. If you still can't refine it successfully, then don't say that you're my brother in the future." Ling Xiao had already communicated with Hua Xiaogui before, and had also given him the spirit artifact cauldron and the earth stage fire stage. With the help of these two items, he believed that it shouldn't be a problem for Hua Xiaogui to refine a grade 3 pill. Ling Xiao's words were just to provoke Hua Xiaogui. Hua Xiaogui nodded his head and confidently controlled the dark brown flame in his hand a few times. Then he placed the cauldron properly and threw the spirit herbs into the cauldron to be refined. Ling Xiao had been paying attention to Hua Xiaogui's movements the whole time. Seeing that each of his irregular steps was quite steady and solid, his eyes revealed a satisfied look. Although Hua Xiaogui's tenbin couldn't compare to his, it was much stronger than many alchemists. To be able to break through to the grade 3 realm at his age was definitely a genius. It all depended on whether or not he could succeed this time. Ling Xiao watched from the side and didn't say anything. Time passed bit by bit. After some refinement, Hua Xiaogui finally finished the previous process. At the last and most crucial moment of condensing the pill, Hua Xiaogui's expression became slightly nervous. As the energy of the beast core was melted, the spirit herb's medicinal transformation also began to mix with the beast core's energy. Hua Xiaogui didn't dare to be slow. With a loud shout, his palms began to squeeze and knead the essence of the cauldron together. The pure medicinal power condensed with the beast core's energy, and the powerful energy produced a muffled explosion sound. If Hua Xiaogui still had the strength of a low-level spirit master, he might have been sent flying to the side by this powerful force. But he was now a genuine high-level spirit master and wasn't affected much. With the medicine cauldron as the center, a medicinal smell spread out. A round pill emitted a faint halo of light in the medicine cauldron, looking quite alluring. Hua Xiaogui looked excitedly at the pill and couldn't help but shout, I did it, boss, I did it." At the same time that Hua Xiaogui was happy, he was about to throw himself at Ling Xiao again. This time Ling Xiao was determined not to hug Hua Xiaogui again. He raised his foot and gave the leaping Hua Xiaogui a kick, sending him flying to the side. "You damn glass, if you dare come half a step closer, brother will have you die," Ling Xiao said angrily. Hua Xiaogui crawled up, a silly smile on his face, but his heart was filled with boundless gratitude towards Ling Xiao. In just a short half a day he had obtained something that others would find difficult to obtain in a lifetime. He had also used this to break through to high-level spirit master and become a grade 3 alchemist. He was only 20 years old this year. Thinking about this age, this strength, and this grade of alchemist, if it was made public, who knew how many people would be shocked to death and how many people would be envious and jealous. However, all of this was given to him by his boss. Without his boss, it could be said that Hua Xiaogui wouldn't have his current achievements. His feelings towards Ling Xiao were hard to express with words. He could only silently remember it in his heart. Ling Xiao took out the pill from the medicine cauldron. Hua Xiaogui said proudly to the side, "Boss, the pill I concoct isn't bad, right? It's only the first time concocting a pill and it's already so perfect. Before long I think that the pills refined by ordinary grade 3 alchemists won't be able to compare to mine." The spirit-increasing pill in front of him had reached 60% color and 70% smoothness. It was a pretty good grade 3 pill. It was no wonder that Hua Xiaogui was so proud. However, after hearing Hua Xiaogui's words, Ling Xiao's expression turned ugly. "I really don't know how old man Nangong taught you. Thinking back to the first time I condensed a grade 3 pill, I had 2 pills in one furnace. Moreover, I became famous many times better than you. If you used a normal fire and a normal master apothecary it would make sense. But now you're using a spirit weapon apothecary and you also have an earth rank flame. You still have the nerve to be happy after refining this kind of trash pill? What should I say to you?" Ling Xiao mercilessly attacked him, causing Hua Xiaogui's happy mood to drop. However, Ling Xiao knew when to stop. He softened his tone and said, "Go back and refine more. If there's a chance I'll take you outside to have a look. There are many high-grade alchemists, so we need to look further. With your tenbin, a grade 4 or 5 alchemist is nothing." Hua Xiaogui understood Ling Xiao's painstaking efforts and nodded firmly. I definitely won't let boss lose face. Whether or not you lose face is none of my business. Now you better tell Xiaoxia about this news. Otherwise, if she runs away with someone else, you'll only be able to cry, Ling Xiao joked. Yes, I'll tell her when I get back. I'm confident that she'll choose to follow me, Hua Xiaogui said confidently. With his current strength, he didn't believe that Wu Xixue could still reject him. What should be done is more or less done. Let's go back. I think those old fellows have also gone back, Ling Xiao said. With a palm strike, he dispersed the restriction he had set up and walked down the hill. Hua Xiaogui hesitated for a moment and asked, Boss, you really want to leave the sect? Yes, this place is no longer suitable for me. In any case, I'll have to leave sooner or later. Leaving now might not be a bad idea, Ling Xiao replied softly. He had always yearned for the martial arts holy land of the central region. Sooner or later he would leave the northwest and wander around the central region. Now that this had happened, he felt even more at ease when he left. However, there were still some things in his heart that he couldn't let go of that made his heart ache. Hua Xiaogui asked from the side, Boss, what plans do you have for the future? First I'll look around. When I become stronger in the future, I'll also create a place that belongs to me and settle down, Ling Xiao replied. Then can I follow boss? Hua Xiaogui asked with some anticipation. Ling Xiao glanced at him and said, You might not be able to in a short period of time. Your strength is too weak and your boss is someone who is often feared by others. Who knows if I'll be chased down by others one day. If you follow me, you'll only be a burden and useless. He paused for a moment before continuing, But don't worry, once I've established my own power, I'll take you over. Hua Xiaogui still wanted to say something, but after thinking about it, he didn't say anything. After all, he knew that once his boss made a decision, it would be very difficult to change. The two returned to the courtyard, but the people from the Purple Sky sect still hadn't left. When the people from the Purple Sky sect saw Hua Xiaogui following behind Ling Xiao, their expressions all became shocked. How was it that in just a short half a day she had jumped 2 levels from the strength of a low-level spirit master to the strength of a high-level spirit master? However, when they thought about how Ling Xiao was already a 5th-grade alchemist, it might not be difficult for him to accomplish this. They were all more and more in awe of Ling Xiao, and at the same time, they hoped that Ling Xiao would really be able to stay. As long as Ling Xiao stayed, the sect would definitely become even more powerful in the near future. Why haven't you guys left yet? Ling Xiao said to the elders of the Purple Sky sect in a somewhat impolite manner. They were a little embarrassed to speak, but Mu Huai walked over and said, Xiao, there's something I need to tell you. At that time you can consider whether or not you really want to leave the sect. If you hadn't made that choice back then, the two of you would have been in love with each other, the woman on the bedside then said. He is such an amazing man, much more handsome than that surnamed Luo, and who knows how many times stronger he is. I really don't understand why you agreed to the marriage. If it was me, I wouldn't agree even if I died. The woman stared at the woman on the bed and said, But it can't all be blamed on you. The people of the Heavy Sword sect have gone too far. I heard from my mother that if you didn't marry, our sect would have suffered. All of this is because of the people of the Heavy Sword sect. If it wasn't for them, senior sister Luo wouldn't have died. However, just as she was cursing up to this point, a figure barged in. Who is it? The woman felt an oppressive aura and immediately turned around and shouted nervously. When the woman saw who it was, her body began to tremble. She didn't dare to believe her eyes as she covered her wide-open mouth and muttered, How could it be you? Ling Xiao ignored Winkidi and directly walked to the side of the bed. Staring at the beauty lying on the bed, his heart began to beat wildly. At the same time, an uncomfortable feeling made him feel like he was suffocating. You go out, I'll take care of her. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and said to Winkidi. Winkidi could feel the strangeness in Ling Xiao and also knew the affection between Ling Xiao and Yunmingqi. After hesitating for a moment, her beautiful eyes revealed a faint sadness as she walked out of the room. Ling Xiao sat next to Yunmingqi and gently caressed her pale face. His heart was tightly clenched. Miqi, I'm here. Ling Xiao affectionately whispered into her ear. Yunmingqi seemed to be able to hear Ling Xiao's call. She muttered, Xiao, don't leave me. Can you believe me? she murmured softly as if she was talking in her sleep, and her expression revealed sadness and sorrow. Ling Xiao was sure that he had really misunderstood Yun Mingqi. Looking at the unconscious Yun Mingqi, Ling Xiao knew that she was currently in a state of self-isolation. It was a sad state of not wanting to face reality. As long as she woke up and untied the knot in her heart, he believed that she would quickly recover. Ling Xiao helped Yun Mingqi up and a bottle of 10,000-year stone milk appeared in his hand. He had stored over 30 bottles in the cave. He had used several bottles before, so there were still quite a few left. Ling Xiao poured the 10,000-year stone milk into Yun Mingqi's mouth and pure energy instantly flowed through her body. Ling Xiao placed his hand on her back and gently dissolved the cold energy in her body. Mingqi, quickly wake up, I'm Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao constantly called out while guiding the energy in Yun Mingqi's body. Yun Mingqi seemed to really feel it and gradually relaxed, allowing the energy to cleanse her meridians. Ling Xiao didn't dare circulate his qi when Yun Mingqi bit him. Her teeth deeply sank into his flesh, causing a wave of pain to spread throughout his body. Luckily, Ling Xiao's endurance was astonishing. He only lightly furrowed his brows a few times, but didn't let out the slightest cry of pain. After a while, Yun Mingqi finally let go of his arm. The blood that flowed from her lips was so thick and beautiful. Ling Xiao didn't care about his bleeding hand and tenderly said to her, "Have you bitten enough? If not, then take a few more bites. In any case, my skin is thick, so I'm not afraid." Yun Mingqi dazedly stared at the faintly smiling Ling Xiao. Finally, she couldn't bear it anymore and began to cry loudly. Ling Xiao's eyes were a bit moist, but he forced himself not to cry. He lightly hugged Yun Mingqi and indifferently said, "Mingqi, I'm sorry I wrongly blamed you." Yun Mingqi sobbed as much as she wanted in Ling Xiao's embrace. Her tears soaked Ling Xiao's clothes. At this moment, Ling Xiao really felt very satisfied and comfortable. The pain in his arm was almost negligible. She still belonged to him. Yun Mingqi struggled out of Ling Xiao's embrace and nervously grabbed Ling Xiao's arm. Her heart ached as she said, "You're bleeding so much, why aren't you circulating your qi to resist?" "It's fine. I have a lot of human blood, so I'll be healthier if I put some in." Ling Xiao foolishly laughed. Looking at Ling Xiao's handsome face and that warm smile, all of Yun Mingqi's grievances were swept away. A bright and beautiful smile appeared on her face. Ling Xiao gently wiped away the tears on Yun Mingqi's face and faintly said, "Mingqi, marry me." Yun Mingqi's face heated up when she heard this. She slightly lowered her head and said in a low voice, "Who wants to marry a heartless man like you? Even if you don't want to, you still have to marry me. If any man dares to have any thoughts about you, I'll kill him," Ling Xiao fiercely said. Hearing Ling Xiao's tyrannical words, Yun Mingqi only felt a wave of sweetness wash over her body. Yun Mingqi raised her head and lightly wrinkled her nose. "If you're really tyrannical. Do you still remember the agreement we made back then?" Ling Xiao nodded. "Of course I remember." "Then that's enough. Right now your strength is one level lower than mine, so you still have to continue working hard." Yun Mingqi revealed an incomparably charming smile. Her appearance was like that of a fairy descending to the mortal world, so beautiful that Ling Xiao was stunned. Chapter 466. In the desolate mountain range, Ling Xiao and Yun Mingqi had gone through several life and death situations. After Yun Mingqi had obtained the inheritance, she had decisively left Ling Xiao. At that time, Ling Xiao had only been a young master from a small remote city. Moreover, his strength had only been at the mystic realm. In terms of background, it was impossible for them to be together. So before they parted, in order to give Ling Xiao hope, she had said that as long as Ling Xiao's strength surpassed hers, she would be together with him. This was also the goal and motivation that Ling Xiao had been fighting for all these years. Originally, his strength had already reached the peak of the mid-stage king realm. Before this, he had already surpassed Yun Mingqi. But just now, in order to help Yun Mingqi recover, Ling Xiao had given her the 10,000-year stone milk, which had allowed her to break through to the high-stage king realm. In terms of strength alone, Yun Mingqi was indeed above Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao looked at that breathtakingly beautiful smile and his face drooped. "Although your strength surpasses mine, it doesn't mean you can defeat me. So I've already surpassed you." "If you say I can't defeat you? Why don't we have a competition and see who's stronger? Although Yun Mingqi had seen Ling Zhao's terrifying killing methods, she had always been called a heaven's daughter. She was still very arrogant. After being provoked by Ling Xiao, she wanted to have a fight with Ling Xiao. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to accept it. But that's not good. If I accidentally hurt you, I wouldn't be able to bear it. Ling Xiao hesitated for a moment. You can injure me? Impossible, I'm a stage higher than you, you're not my opponent. Come, let's go outside and fight. If you can really defeat me, I'll agree to your request. Yun Mingqi also had a competitive personality. Hearing Ling Zhao's words, her desire to fight was ignited. That's right, that's right. She shouted and took the lead to rush out of the room. She didn't look weak at all. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and followed her out. Elder sister Mingqi, are you all right? When Qidi, who was sitting in the courtyard, cried out in surprise when she saw Yun Mingqi come out. I'm fine now. Thank you for your concern, Yun Mingqi replied. It's good that you're fine. When Kudai replied, but her eyes were looking at Ling Xiao, who had just come out, and her beautiful eyes revealed a complicated expression. Beauties love heroes, this has been the rule since ancient times. Which woman wouldn't like a young and promising hero like Ling Xiao? When Kudai had long been interested in Ling Xiao. She had always wanted to tie down Ling Xiao. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao didn't seem to have any feelings for her, and this caused her heart to suffer a blow. During the time that Ling Xiao was trapped in the mystic realm, she had tried to forget about Ling Xiao, but she couldn't seem to get rid of his shadow. Now that Ling Xiao had reappeared and she saw how passionate he was towards Yun Mingqi, she suddenly felt a sense of relief. She knew that it was impossible for her to capture this man in this lifetime. Hurry up and come over. If you beat me, I'll be yours for the rest of my life. Yun Mingqi shouted at Ling Xiao. Her lithe body leapt into the air, a blue longsword appearing in her hand. Come over here. A burst of blue light instantly appeared around Yun Mingqi, making her look like a pure and flawless fairy, giving people a feeling that she was ethereal and ethereal. Ling Xiao lightly laughed, and with a tap of his foot, his figure gracefully soared into the air. Mingqi, do you really want to fight? Ling Xiao asked to confirm. Less nonsense, watch my move. Yun Mingqi responded, and the sword in her hand rippled with layers of waves, rushing towards Ling Xiao. This was the blue stare technique, gentle tide wave art. Although Yun Mingqi wanted to exchange pointers with Ling Xiao, she didn't dare use her full strength at the start, afraid that she would injure Ling Xiao. Although this move might seem extraordinary in the eyes of others, in front of Ling Xiao, it wasn't enough. You little bitch, if I don't show my power, I really can't control you. Ling Xiao also steeled his heart, and decided to properly teach Yun Mingqi a lesson. He wanted to completely subdue this woman, and let her know that her man's strength wasn't something to be trifled with. The surging waves fiercely smashed into Ling Xiao's body. Yun Mingqi really thought that Ling Xiao had been hit by her attack, and her heart trembled. He couldn't have been hit so easily, right? However, what she had hit was only an afterimage of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's real body had already appeared behind her. By the time she had sensed it, Ling Xiao had already fiercely slapped Yun Mingqi's perky butt. Pow! You dare shout fiercely in front of your man? Today your husband will properly teach you a lesson, Ling Xiao fiercely said. The astonishing elasticity he felt in his hand made him feel incomparably refreshed. Yun Mingqi's face was even redder. She hadn't expected that Ling Xiao would actually take advantage of her. Furthermore, when Qidi was still watching from below, this caused her to be incomparably angry and embarrassed. You're dead for sure. Yun Mingqi didn't mean what she said. She swung her sword back, and a wave soared into the sky, as if the Milky Way was pouring down from the 9 heavens. She had used her full strength in this attack. In order to display his domineering might, Ling Xiao summoned a powerful golden dragon image. The golden dragon's roar shook all 4 directions. Under the impact of the golden dragon's phantom, the powerful wave of water that came crashing over immediately dissipated. Yun Xiong only felt his expression change a few times, and he cursed in his heart. Good brat, you actually dare to bully my daughter in public. If you dare to treat her badly in the future, I will be the first to not let you off. In the end, Mu Huai coughed lightly and said, Let's disperse so as not to affect the young people." After saying that, he and Muan took the lead and flew back in the direction of the wooden flag peak. The other elders also flew off in different directions. Yun Mingqi was forcefully kissed by Ling Xiao for a while. In the end, she felt the gazes of many people and used all her strength to push Ling Xiao away. She scolded softly, "You're so bad, how am I supposed to go out and meet people in the future?" After saying that, she flew down the courtyard, slipped into the room and fiercely closed the door. Her back was facing the door and the blush on her face extended to her ears. So many people saw it, it's really embarrassing. No matter what, Yun Mingqi was a woman in her early 20s. She had never been intimate with any man in such an occasion, so of course she was extremely shy. Ling Xiao landed in the courtyard and looked at Wen Qidi, who was still in a daze. He coughed lightly and said, "Junior sister Wen, elder Wen has already returned. Are you going back as well?" Right now was the time for him to be intimate with Yun Mingqi, and he did not want anyone else to be in this courtyard. However, Wen Qidi did not understand Ling Xiao's meaning. She waved her hand and said, "I'm not in a hurry. My mother told me to accompany Sister Mingqi more." Ling Xiao replied, "Mingqi is already fine. She doesn't need anyone to take care of her. I think you," before he could finish, Wen Qidi continued, "It's good that she's fine. I can chat with her or else I'll be bored to death." When Ling Xiao heard this, he almost fell to the ground. He cursed in his heart, "Is this girl pretending to be stupid or is she really stupid? Don't force me to go crazy." Looking at Ling Xiao's depressed look, Wen Qidi revealed a complacent smile and said, "You're really boring. If you want to chase me away, just say it. Why beat around the bush?" After saying that, Wen Qidi turned around and left. When she walked to the entrance of the courtyard, she turned her head and revealed a sly smile. "When you do bad things, keep your voice down." Only then did she quickly leave the courtyard. That figure looked very beautiful, but for some reason her heart seemed to be a little lonely. This girl is really a little witch. Ling Xiao secretly sighed and quickly rushed into the house. Dong dong. Ling Xiao lightly knocked on the door and shouted, "Mingqi, open the door." Yun Mingqi did not answer. Ling Xiao was a little angry and fiercely kicked the door. Yun Mingqi, who was behind the door, was shocked and shouted at Ling Xiao, "What are you doing? You broke the door." "What am I doing?" After pausing for a moment, he said, "Senior Sister Bing might have gone back to her hometown. It's possible. She told me long ago that she wanted to take some time to go back to her family." Yun Mengqi nodded. "Since that's the case, I'll go find her later. I still have some things to do anyway," Ling Xiao said. "Oh right, can I go with you to Gucci City to see that little sister Yun?" Yun Mengqi asked with a hint of jealousy. Although she could tolerate Ling Xiao's fickleness, it didn't mean she didn't care at all. She had heard that Ling Xiao had traveled thousands of miles to the southern region to find the Heaven Gu divine art for the priestess. She could imagine that the priestess's charm was definitely not inferior to hers. In her heart, she had already classified the priestess as her number one enemy. What made her feel even more uncomfortable was that Ling Xiao had already married her. His position as the main wife seemed to have been taken by her, so she had to rely on her own strength to fight for the position that belonged to her. However, she also knew that the priestess didn't have long to live. The prejudice in her heart turned into pity. This caused her to feel very conflicted. This might not be good. The Gu clan has a rule that forbids their son-in-law from being together with other women. If you want to see her, I'll bring her back. Ling Xiao replied after a moment of hesitation. Although Yun Mengqi's strength was already outstanding among her peers, the priestess was definitely not inferior to her. If the two of them met and fought, he wouldn't know what to do. It was better to avoid them as much as possible. In any case, the priestess didn't have much time left. He had to accompany her through her last days. Just as the two of them were happily chatting in the courtyard, the people from the Heavy Sword sect finally arrived at the Purple Sky sect. The battle was about to begin. Chapter 468. Ling Xiao and Yun Mingqi reconciled, and the two of them enjoyed the rare peaceful time of love in the courtyard. The people of the Purple Heaven sect seemed to be very tactful, and no one came to disturb the two. Ling Xiao felt like he had fallen into a grave of tender love. After his hard work, Yun Mingqi was no longer an inexperienced girl, but a vivid and beautiful young woman, giving people a kind of youthful beauty and a bit of mature charm, which made Ling Xiao even more infatuated with her. Of course, Ling Xiao would not stay here for the rest of his life. He still had to go to Guzhai City. But before he went, he had to solve the biggest hidden danger for the Purple Heaven sect. Although he was staying in the Purple Heaven sect, it did not mean that he would definitely come down to be an elder. The elders of the Purple Heaven sect were not reliable, so there was no need for Ling Xiao to continue to get involved. He only cared about the safety of Yun Mingqi, his master, and a few others. After killing all the people of the Heavy Sword sect, he would decisively leave the Purple Heaven sect. During this period, Ling Xiao had gone to Scarlet Flame Peak to look for Yu Laiyan, but unfortunately he was told that she had already left the sect. This made Ling Xiao feel extremely puzzled. Do they all think I'm dead? Forget it, if they can find their own happiness it might not be a bad thing. Not finding Yu Laiyan's whereabouts, Bing Ruoshui had also left long ago, and Ling Xiao was a little less worried but a little more yearning. Ling Xiao leisurely walked to the Jade Spring Pavilion. When Haiyan personally came out to greet him, she had long been optimistic about this young man, and had always encouraged her daughter to find a way to take him down. Unfortunately, her daughter's methods were still a little lacking, and until now she had not been able to occupy a little place in Ling Xiao's heart. In fact, it wasn't that when Haiyan wasn't beautiful enough, but she was too young. She wasn't the type that Ling Xiao liked, and she didn't make Ling Xiao's heart skip a beat. Therefore, she was destined to be a beautiful and lovely passerby in Ling Xiao's life. Elderling, what brings you here? Your presence brings light to our humble Jade Spring Pavilion. When Haiyan's charming face blossomed with an enchanting radiance. Although her daughter was unable to take him down, it did not hinder her admiration for Ling Xiao. Such an outstanding young man would one day become famous in the Northwest. Elderwen, you can just call me Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao politely replied. He respected Wen Haiyan very much. Wen Haiyan laughed and said, young people are not arrogant or rash. No wonder you have such high achievements now, unlike my naughty daughter who only knows how to play all day. When you have time, help me teach her well. At the side, when Kitty revealed a bashful expression and said, Mother, how can you say that about your daughter? She has already worked very hard. Looking at the pure and lovely Wen Kitty to the side, Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, Junior sister Wen isn't even 20 yet, but she's already a mid-stage soul master. Many people can't even catch up to her. Elder Wen's requirements are too high. If it wasn't for your spirit-breaking pill, she would only be a low-stage spirit master. Wen Haiyan still criticized her daughter in front of Ling Xiao. Wen Kitty also had a resigned look, and it seemed that she didn't want to refute. She looked at Ling Xiao with a burning gaze, really hoping that Ling Xiao could teach her. Ling Xiao understood Wen Kitty's intentions, but unfortunately he didn't want to entangle himself with such a fruitless relationship. He secretly decided in his heart, what kind of person is this young master? I will definitely not be tempted by beauty. If others were to hear what he was thinking, it was likely that a large number of people would be knocked down on the spot. This guy was a complete pervert, and he still dared to say that he wasn't tempted by beauty. He really was a bastard who wouldn't blush. Elderwen, junior sister, this time I came to see Mei Ying. Ling Xiao took a light breath, and the smile on his face was replaced by a gloomy expression. The sword that Luo Meiying blocked for him would forever be a thorn in his heart. For every day that she didn't come back to life, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. In fact, there was no need for Ling Xiao to say anything. Wen Haiyan and Wen Kitty both knew the purpose of his visit. Xiao, some things are in the past, don't take it to heart. Meiying also doesn't want to see you live in guilt. Wen Haiyan advised as an elder. Ling Xiao nodded and said, I know. Today I came to see her, otherwise my heart would be at ease. Kitty, you take your senior brother there. Wen Haiyan said to Wen Kitty. Wen Kitty nodded and led the way for Ling Xiao. The Jade Spring Pond of the Jade Spring Pavilion was a pond formed by the accumulation of cold water for more than 1,000 years. Not far from the pond, there was an ice mountain that didn't melt all year round. This ice mountain was formed by the formation set up by the seniors of the Jade Spring Pavilion. This place only absorbed the cold energy of the world, which accumulated day and night and condensed into a cold pond and ice mountain. There was a hole in the ice mountain, and through the hole, it was where Luo Meiying's delicate body was stored. In the secret realm, Luo Meiying was assassinated by Luo Baxing in order to block the sword for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao used his own cold energy to freeze her. But this was not a long-term solution. After when Kitty returned to the sect, she immediately asked her mother to store Luo Meiying in this ice mountain. Because this ice mountain had 1,000-year cold energy, it could allow Luo Meiying's body to survive here for a long time. Ling Xiao cast a grateful look at Wen Qidi. If she hadn't thought it through, Luo Meiying's body would have become a pile of bones and disappeared from the world. Ling Xiao looked at the huge ice sculpture and the peaceful smile on the face, and his heart felt like it was being ruthlessly stabbed. Back in the secret realm, if he had been more ruthless, he would have killed Luo Baxing and the others long ago, and this wouldn't have happened. Ling Xiao placed his hand on the ice, his eyes filled with infinite tenderness and guilt. He didn't know whether it was love or gratitude for Luo Meiying, but he had already given her a big place in his heart, and he would never forget her in this life. I know you have the ability to resurrect senior apprentice Sister Luo, right? When Kitty's adorable face had a touch of sadness as she spoke. She asked in her heart, if I were to die for him, I wonder if he would also feel sad for me? Yes, I can definitely resurrect her, Ling Xiao replied indifferently, but his tone revealed an indescribable firmness. Was it possible to resurrect the dead? Ling Xiao didn't know either, but he had seen Lu Weng's miraculous ability to resurrect all living things. He felt that everything was possible. Therefore he decided to let Lu Weng recover as soon as possible. At that time he believed that it would definitely be able to resurrect Luo Meiying. After the Heavy Sword sect confirmed that Luo Batian and the others were dead, they argued about who should solve this problem. In the end, the Heavy Sword sect sent a total of 6 monarch and 10 king to the Purple Sky sect to denounce them. Considering that there might be a mysterious super expert in the Purple Sky sect, how else could their young sect master who was a stage 6 soul master be killed? Hence, the people from the Heavy Sword sect didn't dare to start a massacre right after they arrived. Instead they flew directly to the Purple Sky sect to find out what was going on. Luo Qiang, the leader of the Heavy Sword sect's Grand Elders, was half a step away from the exalted level. He was the strongest person in the group this time, and the other Earth Monarchs were all elites of the Heavy Sword sect, while the 10 king-level experts were all high-stage king-level experts. All of them were riding on flying spirit beasts, and each of them looked like majestic heavenly soldiers and generals. Their bodies emitted an unconcealable tyrannical aura, and it could be seen that the Heavy Sword sect was truly angry this time. As soon as the Heavy Sword sect's people approached, the elders of the Purple Sky sect sensed them, and everyone began to gather together to prepare for this fierce battle. They knew that this matter couldn't be hidden from the Heavy Sword sect, and now that Ling Xiao was here, they weren't too afraid. Chapter 469. Your Purple Sky sect has guts to actually dare to kill my Heavy Sword sect's future young sect master. How should you be punished? Luo Qiang stood on the huge blood-eyed eagle's malevolent head and coldly said. He was like a high and mighty king berating his lackeys who didn't have eyes. That kind of arrogant gaze, that disdainful sneer, that thick killing intent was almost undisguised. Xiao Songlin and Quang Dong frowned slightly. They had always been in high positions. Who would like to be questioned like this? Xiao Songlin met Luo Qiang's gaze and said in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing, "We are deeply sorry that young Master Luo died in our Purple Sky sect. But think about it, with the strength of young Master Luo and the people he brought with him, do you think our Purple Sky sect is a match for them?" The reason why Xiao Songlin said this was because the people from the Purple Sky sect had communicated with each other beforehand. It was not a wise move to provoke the other party at the beginning. With just a few people, how could they block the other party's powerful strength? Moreover, that brat Ling Xiao might still be hiding in the courtyard with Yun Mingqi. Originally, they wanted to ask Ling Xiao to come out and kill the people from the Chongjian sect, but Ling Xiao said, The main character is usually the last to appear. The people of the Purple Sky sect were both furious and helpless. They were all cursing inwardly. This kid really can't tell the situation apart. When you show up, I'm afraid that everyone will be dead. Luo Qiang glanced at the people from the Purple Sky sect. The strongest among them were Xiao Songlin and Quang Dong, who were at the middle stage Earth Emperor realm. Moreover, they had been very familiar with the situation of the various sects over the years. It was impossible for the Purple Sky sect to hide any thousand-year-old old monster. However, Luo Qiang would not look at things from the surface. No matter what, my heavy sword sect died in your Purple Sky sect. You are all responsible. You'd better hand over the murderer. Otherwise, don't blame us for being cruel and merciless, Luo Qiang said faintly. This time the old ancestor had given a death order. No matter what, they had to bring the murderer's head back. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to go back. They could only obey the old ancestor's orders. Otherwise, with his temper, they wouldn't have a good life. That person said that if we leak out his whereabouts, he will destroy our Purple Sky sect. We really can't bear this sin, Xiao Songlin said awkwardly. Are you not afraid of offending our heavy sword sect? Luo Qiang snorted coldly. A tyrannical aura spread out and pressed down on Xiao Songlin and Quang Dong. Xiao Songlin and Quang Dong were forced to retreat more than 10 meters. Their expressions turned ugly in an instant, and traces of blood appeared at the corner of their mouths. As long as the powerful energy attack touched the valley, it would probably be razed to the ground. However, just as the energy was about to fall into the valley, a powerful black mist rushed out and dispersed Luo Qiang's powerful attack. It really is someone from the Devil Shadow sect. Luo Qiang and the others quickly retreated. When they saw the opponent's counterattack, they were immediately sure that it was someone from the Devil Shadow sect. Whether it was in the northwest or the southern region, only the people from the Devil Shadow sect would cultivate the dark attribute. Therefore, from the move just now, Luo Qiang was sure that the people from the Purple Sky sect were not lying. Just as the move ended, another person from the Heavy Sword sect fell from the Golden Feathered Eagle for no reason. 3 people had died in a row, and without any warning, the people from the Heavy Sword sect were panicking. Senior brother, this can't go on like this, a high-level Earth Emperor beside Luo Qiang said worriedly. Why don't we go back and ask the old ancestor to come over? Another person suggested from the side. Just as they were speaking, another king-rank expert died a violent death. Luo Qiang had no choice but to shout, "Everyone retreat." As his voice fell, everyone retreated far away. They didn't even see the shadow of the person, but they had lost 4 high-level king stage cultivators for no reason. This was too terrifying. The people from the Heavy Sword sect felt a chill in their hearts. They all hoped that Luo Qiang would immediately order them to retreat. Go back to the sect immediately and ask the old ancestor to come in person. This person is too strange and we are no match for him, Luo Qiang said seriously, and then a giant sword appeared in his hand. This giant sword exuded a powerful attribute brilliance, and at a glance, it was at least a spirit tool. Senior brother, what are you going to do? If you want to retreat, let's retreat together. The high-level Earth Emperor who spoke just now said. No, I must stay or the old ancestor will say that we are not doing a good job. You should leave quickly before the other party starts killing, Luo Qiang said with a heroic and stirring manner. Senior brother, don't, that person is unfathomable. If you go down you will only die. If you want to leave, let's go together. I believe the old ancestor will not blame us, the high-level Earth Emperor persuaded. I have made up my mind, there is no need to say more. Luo Qiang waved his hand, then held the giant sword and rode the blood-eyed eagle towards the direction of the valley. Senior brother. The Earth Sovereigns of the Chong Sword sect shouted. Sigh, let's go back and report to the old ancestor, the high-level Earth Emperor said with a sigh. The others did not have Luo Qiang's courage and without hesitation, they rushed back to the sect at full speed to ask for help. Ling Xiao said disdainfully as he hooked his finger at Luo Giang. He proudly shouted in his heart, "I have the blue dragon on the left, the golden wolf on the right and the fire unicorn in the middle." Ling Xiao didn't expect that the famous quote he changed at the last minute would become the representative of his future battle. Luo Giang suppressed his calmness and retreated slightly. After looking at the cruel leopard, he shouted, "Our heavy sword sect will remember this enmity." As his voice fell, something appeared in his hand and he threw it out. Boom. It burst forth with the terrifying speed of a 6th-tier advanced stage expert, and in just a few swings, it had already closed the distance of 1,000 meters. Luo Giang turned around and saw the ferocious blue flood dragon. He was so scared that he almost fell off the eagle's back. Eagle, hurry up, hurry up." Luo Giang urged as he patted the head of the blood-eyed eagle. The blood-eyed eagle also wanted to be fast, but it only had a pair of wings. The blue Jiao dragon unleashed a terrifying sound wave attack towards Luo Giang and the blood-eyed eagle. The man and the beast were shaken so much that they swayed. The blue aquatic dragon had already caught up to him, and it spat out a powerful water-type attack from its huge mouth. The torrential river water poured down like a magnitude 10 tsunami that could drown and break through all obstacles in the world. One man and one beast were blasted into dregs on the spot by the powerful water light. After the blue flood dragon killed the enemy, it roared a few times and grabbed the beast core of the blood-eyed eagle, as well as Luo Giang's spirit weapon and space ring in its claws before returning. It knew how to catch these things because of Ling Xiao's previous teachings. This kind of good thing couldn't be wasted. Any expert would treasure it, and to Ling Xiao it was a rare treasure. Now that he had killed so many people from the heavy sword sect, it was a great harvest. After Ling Xiao let the savage leopard collect all the space rings, he grabbed them in his hands and said with dissatisfaction, "This young master was almost killed by the explosion and I only got this much, what a big loss." The previous generation elders of the Purple Sky sect who were watching from afar almost fainted on the spot. Which one of them didn't covet the things in Ling Xiao's hands? That was comparable to a small treasure trove, and this guy was actually not satisfied. They all cursed in their hearts, "Pretentious brat, be careful of being struck by lightning." If Ling Xiao heard their curses, he would definitely reply with a proud smile, "I was struck by lightning a long time ago and I even advanced." Just as Ling Xiao was about to return to the sect, he glanced in one direction and shouted, "Who is it? Come out." After he roared, a blue flame fist smashed out from his hand towards a nearby forest. Just as the blue flame fist was about to reach the forest, an attribute light flashed and dispersed the flames. The savage leopard cursed himself for being careless in his heart and chased after the forest. The hidden person was also amazing. Before the savage leopard could catch up, he turned into a meteor and flew off into the distance. His speed was as fast as lightning, causing the savage leopard to once again feel that it was difficult to catch up. "Xiaolong, chase after him, don't let him escape." Ling Xiao played with the pair of wind boots in his hand, feeling more and more that they were extraordinary, so he put them on and casually ran for a while, discovering the mystery of the wind boots' speed increase. He murmured, "No wonder this guy could escape so quickly, these wind boots are really good stuff. The heavy sword sect's foundation is really extraordinary. It seems that this young master will have to visit the heavy sword sect sooner." Ever since Luo Meiying was stabbed to death by Luo Baxing, Ling Xiao had decided to wash the heavy sword sect with blood. And before, the people of the heavy sword sect had set their eyes on his most beloved woman, which made him even more enraged and strengthened his decision. Chapter 472. Although Ling Xiao had enough confidence to kill his way to the heavy sword sect now, he had experienced the power of Luo Giang's heavenly lightning seed and felt that it was necessary to make a good plan. Otherwise, if he rashly killed his way over and was casually thrown a few of these heavenly lightning seeds, even the blue flood dragon would not be able to withstand it. After rushing back to the Purple Heaven sect, the elders of the Purple Heaven sect all ran over to get close to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was also very polite to them. He only hated the few peak lord led by Yun Xiong. When he thought that Yun Mingqi almost married into the heavy sword sect, he couldn't swallow it. He had never been a very tolerant person. After sending away those old guys, Ling Xiao returned to the courtyard. Now Yun Mingqi's courtyard had become his backyard. Ling Xiao wanted Ji Beixin to live with him, but Ji Beixin didn't want to disturb Ling Xiao's life. In fact, she didn't want to face Yun Mingqi. On the contrary, Yun Mingqi was more open-minded and accompanied Ling Xiao to see Ji Beixin. After the two women met, although their relationship didn't reach the level of sisters, there wasn't any unhappiness. Ling Xiao decided that once he found a place that belonged to him, he would definitely take all of his women and have a taste of what it felt like. After returning to the courtyard, Ling Xiao didn't let anyone disturb him for the time being. He told Yun Mingqi not to let anyone disturb him for the time being and to meditate for 2 days to think about what to do next. His current dilemma was whether to wash the heavy sword sect with blood or rush to Guzhai city first. Solving the heavy sword sect was imminent, but the priest maiden's time was getting shorter and shorter. In the end, Ling Xiao decided to destroy the heavy sword sect first and then rush to Guzhai city. Otherwise, the heavy sword sect was a thorn in his heart that could stab people at any time. Now that he had a heavenly venerable servant by his side, as well as a rank 6 flood dragon comparable to a peak heavenly venerable, there shouldn't be any problems as long as he was careful. Of course, even though Ling Xiao said that he wanted to wash the heavy sword sect with blood, his target was only the higher-ups of the heavy sword sect. He did not plan to kill all the people in the heavy sword sect. He must have always thought of himself as a very kind person and would never kill too much. He did this because he was not afraid that the Chong sword sect would seek revenge in the future. Once the foundation of the heavy sword sect was shaken, it was unknown how many sects would come to divide the territory of the heavy sword sect. Over the past 2 days, Ling Xiao sorted out all the things in the space ring he had obtained. Looking at the small piles of treasures, Ling Xiao was overjoyed. No wonder so many people were involved in the business of killing and robbing. This was indeed the fastest and most effective way to obtain things. Ling Xiao took out a mysterious art he had obtained from Feng Ying's space ring. It was called Concealment Cultivation Technique. Ling Xiao felt that this mysterious art was quite interesting. Although it was only a green rank mysterious art, it still took him half a day to memorize all of its important points. It did not have any offensive abilities, but after cultivating it, it could conceal one's true aura, making it difficult for others to grasp it. Ling Xiao valued this the most. It would make it convenient for him to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger, and finally reach a shocking entrance. After cultivating the concealment cultivation technique to the entry level, Ling Xiao did not continue. He wanted to leave it for the heavy sword sect to cultivate to the large success stage. Ling Xiao left the courtyard. Only then did he remember that he had not given the 10,000-year pearl in his space ring to his woman. So he took out a large pearl and handed it to Yun Mingqi. Yun Mingqi was dazzled when she saw this pearl. Any woman seemed to have a special love for shiny things. Yun Mingqi had the appearance of a fairy descending to the world, and after taking the 10,000-year pearl, her peerlessly beautiful face made Ling Xiao unable to help himself from drooling several mouthfuls of saliva. In the end, he could not help but drag Yun Mingqi into the room and make love with her for a long time. Subsequently, Ling Xiao left a few more pearls for Yun Mingqi to dispose of as she pleased. Anyway, he still had a lot of stock. After leaving the courtyard, Ling Xiao rushed to the wooden flag peak and gave Ji Beixin a pearl and a lot of Yin wind grass. Ji Beixin was of the wind attribute, and her body contained the innate Yin wind evil qi. Absorbing the Yin wind grass was also of great benefit to her spiritual power. In the pavilion, after listening to Ji Beixin play a song, he informed Cruel Leopard to meet up. Just as Ling Xiao and Cruel Leopard were about to leave the Purple Heaven sect and rush to the Heavy Sword sect, the 6 Earth Emperors of the Purple Heaven sect appeared at the same time, followed by Yun Mingqi. Ling Xiao knew at a glance that it was Yun Mingqi who had told these old fellows about this. Ling Xiao stepped forward and greeted them one by one. Xiao Songlin went straight to the point and said, "Xiaoer, are you really going to the Heavy Sword sect?" Ling Xiao spread out his hands and said in a relaxed manner, "I'm just going to play and see if there's any good scenery worth enjoying. It's no big deal." "Ah, that's right. We old fellows also want to go see the scenery with you. I wonder if you welcome us." The previous generation elder of the Scarlet Flame Peak, Kwang Dong, laughed. The other elders of the previous generation all nodded in agreement. Shall we old fellows still have some strength? Let's go with you, Xiao Songlin said. Ling Xiao glared at Yun Mingqi who was behind the crowd, then smiled and said, Grand Master Elders, you all have some strength but compared to a young man like me, you are still a bit lacking. Moreover, when I admire the scenery I am not used to having old people by my side, otherwise it would be very awkward. You guys better not go. The 6 Earth Emperors only felt their faces heat up, but they also felt that Ling Xiao's words were not false. They might be able to help a little if they went with him, but it would distract Ling Xiao from taking care of them, which was not good. Elders, I already said that he doesn't need your help, but you just don't believe me. You can go back, I will accompany him. Yun Mingqi retreated in order to advance. In fact, she only wanted to fight side by side with Ling Xiao, the others didn't matter. Ling Xiao had a look of refusal and said, You all stay here and wait for my news. Yun Mingqi somewhat unwillingly pouted her sexy lips. Ling Xiao thought for a moment and said, All right, you can come with me but you can only watch from the side. Occasionally I will kill a few small fish for you to practice, but if you meet a difficult opponent, don't try to be brave. Only then did Yun Mingqi smile. She had always missed the days when she was protected by Ling Xiao in the desolate mountains, and now it seemed that she had returned to that moment. In the end, the 6 Earth Emperors of the Purple Sky sect did not put down their old faces and did not go in. They only told Ling Xiao to be careful and then they dispersed. Just like this, Ling Xiao, Yun Mingqi and the Savage Leopard set off for the Heavy Sword sect. When they set off, Ling Xiao was still worried about how to bring Yun Mingqi along. It had to be known that the Blue Flood Dragon had always been unapproachable. But this time it was beyond Ling Xiao's expectations. After Yun Mingqi and he sat on the dragon's back, the Blue Flood Dragon did not struggle at all and allowed Yun Mingqi to sit down. Ling Xiao thought gloomily, could it be that this guy is a male dragon and has taken a fancy to Mingqi? Fortunately, the Blue Flood Dragon did not sign any contract with Ling Xiao and could not hear his words, otherwise it would have rolled its eyes. The Savage Leopard was still riding the bald lion eagle. Although its speed was not as fast as the Blue Flood Dragon, it was still better than not having a flying spirit beast. Ling Xiao told the Savage Leopard to find a spirit beast above the 6th rank as soon as possible, so that it would be convenient to travel and fight in the future. Of course, the Savage Leopard readily agreed, but he knew that it was not easy to find a powerful dark attribute spirit beast. He could not help but think of thousands of years ago his protective spirit beast, the 7th rank Black Sky Tiger. If it was not to block the enemy for him, the Black Sky Tiger could have run away by itself.